welcome to WeDAP podcast, episode 32.
Or like 30 boo, am I right?
Everyone, we've rested. We've regained our strength, and we're ready to continue our quest. What quest is that? Our quest to find out what our favorite movie of all time is, at least up until this point. Obviously, we will see other movies that haven't come out yet, or others that have come out and we just haven't seen.
That's right. The title that says a whole lot with a whole little.
I got to tell you guys, that's a very catchy title.
The title where every word counts.
Yes.
Frank, why don't you tell us what this segment is for people who've not been with us for a year?
Well, previously it was a video segment that we have decided to move to the podcast. I feel like one of the things...
I was going to say, ironically, it used to be a podcast segment that we moved to a
that's right.
video
It
segment.
started to.
So it's come all the way back.
I feel like one of the things we robbed from doing it video style is we don't get to have the full in-depth discussions about these movies that we love so much that they really deserve. You know what I mean? And I'm really glad we're taking it back to the podcast so we can get to the thick, meaty bits as we talk about our favorite movies of different subgenres and a runner-up, you know, because you gotta vamp, you gotta stretch that time out.
So we're gonna be talking about why we like these movies, why certain people like these movies,
and why people like movies but other people don't like that movie.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. I'm excited because I envision 40 years from now, obviously when the podcast ends, we get together, we take all of our Movie Quest top picks, and we bracket it out. NCAA style, and we finish it.
Hopefully on episode 420.
We find out what our favorite movie of all time is. This is the only logical way to do it.
True.
Well,
very true.
Let's go in. Today we're doing haunted house movies, and to be honest, I need your help with this. Is it house haunting movies? Because it's not a haunted house necessarily. We're not talking about a house filled with ghosts. We're talking about houses where the house itself is the entity.
Wow.
Like, what do you call that? House entity movies? Should have had this discussion before.
Where the house itself is the entity, I feel like that it's very specific.
That's very slim. I feel like there's probably like five.
Because that's not what I did. I did a house where a haunting is undergoing. Excluding things like Paranormal Activity, because we know for a fact, due to the lore in that movie, that it is not the house, but it is the people.
Okay. We're on the same page then. So basically, the house has spooky stuff, but we're talking specifically the house is the location. The location, and it's specific to the house.
Yes.
I guess I would have to say that it's kind of like, I mean, obviously it's also separate genre of movie that it is like this all occurs in one setting or two settings maybe. Oh, okay. Mostly focused around the house. That's kind of what I see. But yes, I think because the majority on my list is the same thing where it's like mostly the house. Or central location.
Well, we'll have to just argue about this throughout the whole episode, I'm sure. We'll see what happens.
I mean, my main argument is, and I'll use Paranormal Activity again, the haunting does not follow the house. They can change locations and move, but you can't outrun that person being haunted. You know what I mean? Whereas some of the movies I chose specifically the haunting takes place in the one location.
Yes.
That's where, I tried to focus on one location. Yeah.
So this episode will be called Movie Quest, a house where that location specifically is haunted.
That's succinct and sexy. I love it.
It goes right with the theme of this show.
If you can make it longer, make it longer.
Yeah, we're all about that.
Well, Danny, why don't you start us off, man? What was your runner-up house haunted whatever movie?
Oh, geez. I got to say, when we announced to this episode, I was pretty stoked, as you can say. Ever since you guys had Movie Quest, I was like, man, that sounds fun. Glad to get to be a part of it.
Yeah, you weren't here for that.
I was not a part of it.
We're excited to do this 3-man quest now.
Thank you. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite part of the James Wan verse, The Conjuring. Part 1. The Conjuring. Conjuring. Released on my birthday in 2013, July 15th, 2013. The Conjuring follows, a basic synopsis about it is based in 1971 following a family, Roger and Carolyn Perron. I'm going to say I don't know if that's their real name. They move into a dilapidated farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April. Their dog Sadie refuses to enter the house, and one of the children, while playing a game, Hide and Clap, finds a boarded up entrance to the cellar.
Which is a really cool game. I had never seen that before that movie, but that's a
Hide
fun way to
and
play like
clap.
hide and
How does-
seek.
So you have to clap while you're hiding, or what?
So it's almost like a Marco Polo type thing where the seeker claps and they get a clap response, and then you have to kind of like echolocate.
That's cool.
Yeah,
But I'm pretty sure your eyes have to be closed,
yeah.
like the seeker.
Yes.
I don't remember.
I don't remember actually. Now that
But
I
it
think
should
about
be.
it, yeah, that's a little dangerous.
You should
too.
have to daredevil that thing.
I mean, that's a very cool and spooky aspect of this movie. And again, I didn't know about it before that too. Beyond that, the house. It turns out. I guess I don't want to spoil anything or anything, but
I actually haven't seen this movie.
oh, okay.
I've never seen it. I
well,
need to get around
spooky
to
stuff
it.
happens.
I assume.
Yeah. The house once I guess it's not really like spoiling anything, but the house once belonged to a accused witch from colonial times.
That'll do it every time.
Yep. She sacrificed her 1-week child to the devil, and she killed herself.
It wasn't like the weakest child. It was 1 week old.
Oh, okay.
She sacrificed 1 weak child.
We'll get rid of them anyway. It's colonial times.
So like,
They're
who
not
cares? You know,
gonna- They're not gonna last.
It's like
leave it out for
China.
the bears.
She killed herself at 3:07 a.m., which is interesting because a central part of the movie is a lot of the things that are spooky start building up at about 3:07 a.m., also known as the witching hour. Bum, bum. That sounds like a mobster witch.
Yeah,
see?
witches can be in the mob.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a movie I'd see.
Yeah, initially the story was supposed to be told from the Perona family Perone family's point of view, but it was then rewritten in development to be from Ed and Lorraine Warren's point of view. The Warrens, they are the biggest focus of the movie, really, which is a, I will say famous paranormal investigation couple made of Lorraine Warren, who is a renowned medium, and Ed Warren, who is a renowned con man. And obviously, obviously, I have some feelings about the Warrens. I think everyone that is into paranormal things and paranormal investigations can see kind of the BS that surrounds the Warrens. But I think it's really cool. I think they do have some genuine cases, especially the case that The Conjuring 2, the sequel to this movie, is based on the Enfield poltergeist, which is really cool. If you guys get a chance, look up the Enfield poltergeist, all that surrounds it. It's in England. Really spooky stuff. Some stuff that's really not explainable. Some of it is. It was really had like one of the most media responses of hauntings.
What year was this?
1970 something.
Oh, they would have had cars by then. Okay.
Well, I'm glad we're sticking on theme.
David, you are the worst skeptic ever.
James Wan had said that the allure to direct this movie actually came from the initial success of Insidious, his first horror film besides Saw.
And
really.
the first time Darth Maul reappeared after Phantom Menace.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
True
ties into
facts.
the universe.
To show that he's still alive.
The spider legs underneath that table. You just didn't see it behind him.
His allure to this movie actually focused on the fact that this movie was centered around real people, real characters, and alleged real events. And that's kind of what he wanted to go based off of. He wanted to work on horror in a different direction than the intense gore that was in Saw. So he didn't want to focus so much on gore and work some more on spooky aspects. And this movie does really great with spooky stuff. Like there's some really awesome like quintessential horror movie tropes that are taken but also amplified in a great way. James Wan has this like his knack for introducing themes that'll come into spooky parts later into the movies. So like the hide and clap game, the music box that the child finds, little musical cues. There's this one moment in which there's an abandoned where they find that abandoned door in the closet. It goes down to this basement that's just dilapidated. And there's like this old stand-up piano in there. And one of the kids goes in and plays like a 1-3 note melody or something like that. And it's terrible because the piano's out of tune. But later on, when one of the people are trapped down in the basement during one of the spooky parts, that little melody is played back to her.
Okay.
And it's really
That's
cool.
good.
So he does a lot of like playing back and forth. Let's see. This is pretty amazing. The movie was made on only $20 million. Guess how much money that made?
A butt ton. One
yeah.
metric buttload.
150 million.
$151 million.
The Price is Right antics keep continuing. I mean, technically, Frank wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. $319.5 million.
Hey, James
My
Bond?
goodness.
Like, more than 500% of the worth of the budget.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Dude,
So
you could buy so much stuff on Wish for that.
so much weird stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to say that this movie spurned like a huge, they wanted to make
expanded
universe, which was, obviously it's like the start of the Marvel expanded universe, but a horror verse. So
The WCU.
the James Wan verse. This started The Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, and honestly, for me, The Conjuring are the big hitters in this universe. Like, that's what people are waiting for. It's like the Avengers, to be honest. But there's no team ups or anything like that.
No crosses over from another movie.
But there are some demons that show up and hauntings that show up in different parts of the universe, which is really cool. So like little things hint in there. Obviously, it spurned off into Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, which is actually a pretty decent trilogy. I will say the first one is trash, but the following two and the one that recently came out, really good in my opinion.
So there's 4 Annabelle movies.
There are three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just mention Annabelle in this one, so it's like the first mentioning of her, and then she gets her own movie. Blah blah blah. There's 3 of them.
Okay.
Then The Nun is based off of The Conjuring 2. There's an entity that shows up in The Conjuring 2 that gets turned into The Nun. The Nun is an absolute travesty, terrible horror movie.
It's one of those movies you can tell how not good it's going to be just from the cover.
I was worried.
That's good.
Yeah. And, the trailer was decent, but they showed so much in it.
Isn't there another one?
There is going to be.
Nun 2, isn't it?
They might make
Back in the Habit.
I think that's it, actually.
That would be good.
They're going to make one also based off of The Conjuring 2, one of the entities, I think they were saying, called the Crooked Man, which is, it's okay. It wasn't really a good part of it or anything. But like I said, heavy hitters are The Conjuring. Conjuring 1 is great. I think it's one of those quintessential haunted house movies. It's got a very vintage feel to it. The cinematography and coloring, the lighting of it, it's got a very 1980s Amityville horror kind of vibe to it, and it does it really well. I think it's a really great movie. There's some parts in it that are arguably pretty spooky.
That's cool.
Box office success. Again, it's one of my favorite spooky movies. Whenever it's on TV or if it's on HBO and I just want to watch something spooky, it always hits home pretty good.
I'll have to watch it this Halloween season.
My favorite memory of The Conjuring is my crazy aunt, who for months after the movie came out, she'd go, "Ooh, you better stop, or the Conjuring's gonna get you." And it used to make me laugh so hard. It's not the name of the movie.
That's pretty.
And it's not even the name of the monster. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's not Delivery. It's Conjurno.
Yeah.
Also, another part of the movie which is pretty rad is the music done by Joseph Bishara, who is in a lot of the James Wan verse.
Does he do Saw?
I don't know if he's done Saw, actually.
I need to check it out.
Saw's got a nice score.
I love the theme of Saw.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It sounds like Live and Let Die, but it's awesome.
And if it is, that would be great because this... Is it?
I'm sorry. I just need to clarify. Live and Let Die is also awesome. I don't want anyone to think...
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. As soon as I said it, I just mean that it's a little derivative, but it's still awesome in its own right.
I don't know. I've never seen Live and Let Die.
You just need to hear the song, man.
Oh.
Paul McCartney and Wings.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, it's the theme to that James Bond movie.
Oh.
It's one of those weird songs that were super popular written for that movie. Like Skyfall blew up a whole bunch.
Whoa.
Anyway, I'm totally derailing this.
Interesting. Honestly, great score. Great movie. That's one of my favies.
What was his name?
Joseph Bishara, B-I-S.
He's not the guy who did Saw, but that's okay. We'll move past it.
Still cool.
Still cool.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, Frank, why don't we kick it to you, man? What's your runner-up haunted house movie?
My runner-up is going to be what I would consider an unsung hero. Especially, and I say that because, the ratings aren't great. You know what I mean? On IMDb, it's got a 5.6.
Ooh.
On Rotten The Rotten score is 15%,
Ooh,
but the
give it
audience
to
score
me,
is
Frank.
48. You know what I mean? We're talking.
Is this Dog
Still not
Soldiers?
great. No, we are talking about. You guys love Dog Soldiers. Don't even try to pretend. You guys enjoyed yourselves. I watched it.
I like Dog Soldiers.
Yeah,
I
you
thought it was
did.
good.
It was a good
really
time,
good.
man.
There's not a lot of werewolf movies, but anyways.
So I'm going to talk about another thing that's not a masterpiece, but it is in itself a great time, man. 13 Ghosts came out in 2001.
Dude. Well, Frank.
Let's get this.
Did you? Yes, man. I love 13
I love
Ghosts.
13 Ghosts.
It's fantastic.
It's an amazing movie.
That's one of those like movies that people our age, like 28, like late 20s, like we saw that as children.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Spook the crap
And
out of
that's
me.
the best time to watch a horror movie.
Spook the crap right out of you.
Yeah,
You
It
know
was
what I mean?
scary, man.
It was scary.
I mean, it's got
creepy one.
visuals, it's got tension, it's got lore, like it's got boobies. What else could you want from a horror movie?
It had a lot of surprising lore for being an hour and a half-ish movie.
Oh yeah, dude.
They put a lot into it.
I'll come back to this later.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just get into this. It was directed by Steve Beck, who also did Ghost Ship, and I thought that was really interesting because very similar feels now that I think about it. I didn't realize it was the same guy, but those movies feel very similar.
So close.
Ghost Ship
Yes.
is dope.
Ghost Ship is dope.
And it also has Mudvayne in it.
In the opening scene,
True.
everybody just gets sliced in half. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
very violent.
fantastic.
One of the
but we're not here to
craziest.
talk about Ghost Ship today. Sorry. It was written by Rob White. He did the original story, and then the guys who did the screenplay were some dudes named Neil Marshall Stevens, Ricardo P. Ovidio, and then two uncredited actors, some guy named Todd Alcott, and then this dude named God, let's see if I can get this right, James Gunn. James
Bond?
Gunn.
Oh.
Yeah. James Gunn was a writer on this movie.
That's
Oh,
dope.
Which
that makes so
I
much
didn't know, you know
sense.
what I mean?
It's got that kind of like James Gunn attitude, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's very fast.
Which, real quick, you guys should watch Slither.
Oh, I've seen Slither.
Oh, you've seen
I've
Slither?
seen
You've seen
heck out of
Slither.
Slither. Oh,
well,
yeah.
let's carry on.
That's
My
an amazing
goodness.
movie.
So in the movie, you got Tony Shalhoub, Monk.
That's right.
Gotta love a Tony Shalhoub flick.
Also Men in Black one.
As I was doing this, I was like, oh my God, he's in Men in Black. It totally just slipped my mind for so long. You got Embit Davids, which, I mean, I don't know. Shannon Elizabeth, Bryn Payne.
Speaking of boobies.
Yeah, speaking of boobies. J.R. Bourne, he always plays a bad guy. F. Marie Abraham as like the creepy uncle who kind of kicks off this whole thing. And Matthew Lillard, y'all.
Dude.
I love me some Matthew Lillard.
Are you talking about the star of Scooby-Doo and Without a Paddle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, just
Zoinks.
like
The original
best
Ghostface.
the best performance in Scream 1.
Oh
is
my
Matthew
goodness.
Lillard. That guy.
Dude, I love
I'm
Matthew
way over
feeling
the
woozy
top.
here, man.
He's
I think I'm dying.
He's such a great, timely actor. Like, he's definitely from, like, mid-90s to, like, mid-2000s, and I think that's
And
it.
then he was gone.
Yeah, he's just gone.
And I follow him on Instagram. He just does a bunch of like social work and stuff. Seems like a stand-up dude, man.
A cool guy.
Oh yeah, cool dude. I
very
just
nice.
really like got excited about Matthew Lillard for a second. Gots to. So whole premise of 13 Ghosts, for those of you who haven't seen it, Abraham plays this dude named Cyrus Kritikos, who's like this ghost hunter. The movie opens up to him leading a team. Matthew Lillard plays his assistant, so he's there in this first scene. And the whole point of them being in this like creepy junkyard, they're trying to capture this ghost called the Juggernaut, big scary ghost. They capture the Juggernaut, but there's a big battle to like get him there, and a bunch of dudes die, including Cyrus himself. You know, sometimes that's how it works out. Cyrus leaves his mansion to his nephew, played by Tony Shalhoub, who is this mathematician. His wife's dead. He's got these two kids, and they're kind of like struggling financially. So they're like, "Ooh, we get a mansion? Like, yeah, let's go."
I also got to say, like, this is such a trope in this subgenre of horror movies.
Yes, 100%.
Like,
well, this movie's actually
house has
a
been left to
remake
me.
from a
It
movie
is,
of the
yeah.
same name in 1960.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Very similar premise. Like the uncle leaves the house to the nephew. They go to the house, but we'll talk about some differences as we go through here.
Quick factoid right here.
Hit me with it.
Did you know that F. Murray Abraham graduated from El Paso High School. Also,
What?
went to UTEP and is an alumni. He's like a certified El Pasoan.
Wow.
That is crazy.
That's very
But to be fair, he
interesting.
kind of looks like a dude from El Paso.
He does.
Like
Yeah.
he's gonna fight you.
He's
in
an
the parking
amazing
lot.
actor.
Yeah, like he's a really good dad and chill, but like before a UTEP game, he might get
Yeah.
into a scrap.
Exactly.
I'm pretty
Oh.
sure he is that dude that was throwing putazos in the.
One more quick fun fact. I looked up Matthew Lillard to see if he'd been doing anything. He's now voicing Shaggy like in animated roles.
Zoinks!
Which
Hey
is
man,
cool.
if you do something well, just
Yeah.
keep on doing it.
Including Return to Zombie Island. They're coming out with a sequel to Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, which is a great movie this
Wow.
year. And Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost.
Whoa! No way, dude.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy.
Wow.
Okay, anyway.
Life is weird, you know what I mean? So the family gets ready to move into this house. As they arrive at the house with the lawyer played by J.R. Bourne, they're getting ready to tour, and they get meet up with Matthew Lillard, pretending to be an employee from the power company. Sneaky boy. He walks around. They walk into this house. The house is mostly built of glass. It's got glass walls. Some of them move and slide. There's a bunch of artifacts all over the place, so it looks a little bit like a museum. And there's a bunch of like Latin like words like in the floors and around the walls and stuff. They're kind of touring it. Tony Shalhoub and the lawyer split off for a second to talk financials. And everybody kind of goes off of their own. Matthew Lillard goes into the basement, just kind of like missing his ghost daddy, I guess. And he sees a couple of ghosts in the basement. He runs out of there. He tries to warn Tony Shalhoub. He's telling him like, it's not safe. Like there's 12 ghosts like imprisoned in here, and they're just held by the spells. Like it's not safe to be here. And the lawyer's like, don't listen, guy. He's crazy. Like I really need you to move in here so I can get my money. Like don't listen to this guy. So they just kind of blow him off. The lawyer sneaks away to go collect this like hidden package of money that's supposed to be his payment, and it sets off a mechanism, and it shuts the doors, and it starts releasing these ghosts one by one. It's party time. Let's do this. I didn't want to give like a full synopsis, but
Yeah.
that whole like lead up, I would just
Yeah.
really like the premise to everything going on, because you find out that the house isn't really a house, but it is in itself like a machine, and the whole point of this machine is. It's called, I wrote down some of the lore here because it's really cool. The machine is called the Bacillus Machine, and it's said to be designed by the devil and powered by the dead. And it requires the power of 13 ghosts, and the whole point of this machine is to open up the Ocularis Infernum, the Eye of Hell. It's supposed to, whoever opens up the Eye of Hell is supposed to have the power to see everything past and present, to have all the knowledge in the universe. Spooky power. And this whole thing was set up by the uncle. No, I'll leave that out. No spoilers. Because if you haven't seen this movie, honestly,
you should.
it is
I
worth
feel like
the watch.
we should try and avoid
Movie
spoilers.
is dope, man. I specifically remember the part where someone gets like cut in half in glass, like down the top.
Yes, because if you
Yeah.
have a house made of glass with glass walls, you gotta chop somebody in half.
Yeah,
with the
and I
glass.
remember like the ghost with like his head in like a cage or something like
the
that.
jackal.
The jackal.
That's probably one of my
That's the
favorite
one.
ghosts in the whole
It
movie.
was so cool, man.
The ghosts all coincide with the Black Zodiac, which is kind of like the
Interesting.
under like counterpart to the regular Zodiac. There are 13 of these ghosts. The Torn Prince, the Torso, which is a really cool effect.
remember that
They
one.
actually they hired this guy who was an amputee, and then he wore a black hood over his head so that they could digitally like remove his head out of the frame.
Whoa.
Really creepy effect. To the effects themselves, because I totally forgot to go over it, there is something I wanted to mention for the effects supervisor. No, I'm thinking of my top one pick. Disregard. Rewind.
Okay.
And we're back to where we started. No mistake ever made.
That was wonderful.
But visually, it's super awesome, especially all the ghosts that I'm going to finish listing here. The Torso, the Pilgrimess, the Dire Mother, and the Great Child. The Jackal, which, as we said before, is one of my favorites.
Was that
in
the
whole
big
thing.
baby, the great child? One
Yeah,
that was,
the
like,
Great Child is the big baby, and like his
Yeah.
mom who like died together. They're like super creepy.
Yeah, it's really weird.
You got the Broken Heart, the Bound Woman, the Angry Princess, who's the one with her boobies out. And it's not super sexual because she's super dead and gross.
Nice
Yeah.
boobies though.
Nice boobies though. Still, for being dead and gross and murderous,
Wow.
great set of boobs. The Hammer, the Juggernaut,
Oh, the Hammer. I forgot about that.
and the Born Son.
The Juggernaut was the African American one with all the nails in his head and stuff,
Yes.
right? Real
and he
cool,
also
man.
had that like red helmet and like red metal suit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
Good job, David. So the main difference between the remake and the 2001 release is basically the mechanics of the whole thing. They move into the house, but the house, instead of being a machine, is just kind of run by the like housekeeper. She's kind of like keeping all these ghosts trapped there, and one of the 12 ghosts is trying to murder one of the family members. And the whole reason they stay is because they find out that there's supposed to be a fortune hidden in the house, and they're just super greedy. They're trying to get that money.
That old 50s capitalist greed.
Yeah.
It's another trope in this subgenre of movies. There's always the housekeeper who knows a whole bunch.
Yes.
But sticks around.
I've worked this house for many years.
Or isn't actually alive.
Yes, or they're ghosts.
The housekeeper's been dead for 13 years. But seriously, like 13 Ghosts, fantastic watch. And all the reviews I was reading, it catches a lot of gruff for not being like super scary, but it's like the creep factor, and visually it is so pleasing.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
I feel like it's got that like horror movie quality of acting that from the 90s or 2000s. I think it's very early 2000s that you gotta like expect. But I mean, even when I look at images, it still triggers like those thoughts of like how spooked I was when I first saw it. I was just like, man, I was too scared to put the DVD in to watch it again.
Oh yeah,
like
Yeah.
it was scary.
And it's got the same kind of tension as like the funhouse scene in a lot of scary movies, because you're going through all these glass corridors. You're not really sure if something's behind a wall or in front of you. It's really good at building that tension. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a complete flop. They threw $42 million into this movie. It wasn't a blockbuster by any means, but they still pulled out a little bit over $68 million.
Okay, well,
You break
that's
even.
something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Take a little bit
They were
off the
to
top.
pay the light bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's car got repoed.
And I still think it's in our hearts. It's a really good movie.
Oh, 100% in my heart.
It's definitely like a kind of a forgotten movie,
Like a
though,
cult
I think.
movie, yeah, I mean-
We should CLE.
Dude,
I mean, I'm super
that'd
down.
be
Let's
good.
watch that
That'd be
thing.
good.
That's a
man.
great movie.
Yeah.
What you
Unless
got
we
for
ha-
your runner-up? Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Danny.
I was gonna say unless we have nostalgia lenses on again.
Oh no.
I mean, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, really.
yeah, that's true. It's worth watching because you didn't watch it prior to doing this.
No.
Yeah.
I planned it. I made time for my first pick, but I ran out of time for my second
Yeah.
pick.
Same. Okay, well, my runner-up is the 1966 movie The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, starring Don Knotts.
Dude, I forgot about that
That's
movie.
an old one. I haven't heard that.
It's actually not even really my pick. I was just joking. But isn't that a great movie?
That is a
good
great
It's really
movie.
spooky.
Yeah, it's just like Don Knotts. He can get this mansion if he spends a night there. It's like a classic setup. And
A
it's,
Brewster's Millions of horror movies.
it's one of those like I don't know. The '60s have such cheesy comedies, but there's something really charming about them. And that one. And did you guys ever see The Incredible Mr. Limpet, where he's like a cartoon fish the whole movie, like an old school Disney animated cartoon fish?
No, I don't think so.
It's like around the same time. Another Don Knotts movie
God, I love
that
me
I
some
just
Don
watched
Knotts,
on
man.
Turner Classic Movies or something as a
Coming
kid.
up.
Why are there so many ostriches?
That's good Don Knotts, man. You're hitting them. Okay, well, seriously though, my runner-up pick, and this is sort of a cheating choice, but I think there's enough reason to count it, is The Haunting of Hill House season 1.
I'm glad I didn't put it because that was gonna be one of mine. Too.
Right? 2018 Netflix series, 10 episodes of just emotional, spooky sludge that you got to drag yourself through. It's a heavy watch.
And I got to give the pick to you, David, because although it does follow the family around, the root cause of the problem is the house.
Yeah, and
Experience from the house.
I mean more specifically, this isn't a movie, but it is a movie. You know what I mean? It is one.
It's one narrative.
It's one story being told. It just happens to be 10 hours long.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got way more runtime than a movie.
That show was delightful.
Oh, yeah.
Just every episode got better and better
Yeah.
and better.
And so emotional. It's so good at like invoking your emotions. You know what I
which is
mean?
one of the reasons I put it on here.
it's
'cause
a great drama.
I can't think of the last time that I had such an emotional response to a piece of fiction.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
you know what,
this
guys?
is
I'm not
intense.
recording. I'm just kidding.
A trick on our spooky episode.
Will there be treats? You'll have to stay tuned to find out.
The director of of Hill House is the one that's doing Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, so
Mike Flanagan.
This is it's Mike Flanagan. He's the director of Haunting of Hill House. He did 2013's Oculus, which I'm pretty sure we all saw in theaters together.
Absolute poop.
That's the mirror one, right?
Yeah.
The mirror one.
So I'm terrified of mirrors.
Yeah.
That movie was not
Oh,
scary.
yeah, you were
at
the one.
all.
Yeah.
Mirrors was more terrifying to watch.
Oh,
Honestly.
that one was creepy.
The part that's kind of freaked me out about this is 2013. We've been watching movies together for like 6 years because I remember seeing it with the three of you.
Oh, yeah.
And being pumped to be like, Frank's gonna like lose it, and it was produced by WWE or something.
Yeah, that
And
should
it
have
had
been the first sign something was wrong.
Well, we got in the theater, and then that showed up on the credits, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a long.
What have I done?
I don't
Karen
know.
Gillian.
Karen, she's from Doctor Who, right?
No, she's and Marvel.
There we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's in the.
She's Nebula.
Yeah, there's so many.
How do you keep track of them all, man?
Yeah. We also got 2016's Hush. Fantastic movie.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Great movie.
Which stars his wife as the deaf lady who's also Theo in the show.
That's right.
She's the older sister who's like the grumpy one. Then we have Ouija.
Ouija?
Ouija.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from 2016. I didn't see that movie. And he also
was
did
good.
Gerald's Game on Netflix, which is even weirder because
Awesome.
it also has his wife.
Gerald's Game?
Yeah.
I have not seen
The
this
Stephen
movie.
King one?
Stephen King adaptation. And it's about this couple who like to play intimacy games.
Ooh.
And the wife is tied up.
Ooh.
And then the husband has a heart attack and like dies while she's tied up. Good Stephen King stuff. But it's weird because in
Really
that
good.
movie,
That's a pretty crappy situation to be stuck in.
Yeah.
the main character in that movie, the one who gets tied up, is the mom in Haunting of Hill House.
That's right.
And then in a flashback, when that character is a child, her parents are Theo, his wife, and the dad, the younger version of the dad from Haunting of Hill House. So
I mean, sometimes you just find a team that works
yeah,
for you.
Exactly. He just finds a guy.
You're like, you know who I loved working with?
It's like the Tarantino thing, or there's a bunch of guys who do that. And then, of course, he's going to do Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
So that's going to be out this month.
Pretty interested.
Yeah.
I know. I'm really worried also at the same time.
Yeah.
The Stephen King movies haven't been doing too great.
Well, it's not just that, but it's also like the source material of, I don't know how strong the sequel to The Shining could be, but I don't know. I haven't read it, so I'm
I
not
don't
going to
know
pass
either.
judgment.
Horror sequels are very much like comedy sequels, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to pull off.
Seldom it
Sometimes
works
hard
out.
to hit the magic twice, man.
Yeah.
Shout
Well-
out to Saw.
Shout out to Saw. What I love about this movie is this is what I love about this very extended movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's almost not even about the scares as much as the human element of it, and it's really like about a family suffering from loss.
Oh, 100%.
And
Which is the worst and most common type of haunted house.
It's a real haunting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ties in a lot of that. I was doing a little bit of research on this thing. The first thing I got to mention is that it is based on a book. By Shirley Jackson, who also wrote The Lottery, like the English 3 favorite. You know what I mean? Whenever you're taking junior year English, you're going to read that short story. Did you guys ever read that?
Don't think I ever
I
read
don't
that.
remember.
The Lottery, it's about this like village, and it's a really short story. You know, there's all these people in the village, and all day long they're entering their name or whatever, and they're all participating in this lottery. And the story's just continuing. You're following characters around. And at the end, you find out that they pull a name out of this basket at the end, and they stone someone to death.
I've heard it. Yeah.
And this village just does it because that's what they've always done. But anyway,
As is tradition.
yeah, very like Midsommar kind of thing. But the book is actually very, very different. And if you haven't seen the show is basically centered around this family. I guess back in the 80s, it would be. They have children. They move into this giant house that they fall into. I think they buy it to flip it. They're house
Yeah, they
flippers,
do.
aren't
Yeah.
they? And then, really don't want to go into spoilers for this thing, but basically, like it tells two different stories, like linear, parallel, I should say, timelines. One where they're children, one where the kids are grown up, and it revolves around this house that they keep getting drawn back to. In the book, it's a doctor who investigates paranormal activity, and he invites other people to join. It's 4 seekers who arrive notoriously at Hill House. Dr. Montague is his name. He's an occult scholar. He's got Theodora, his lighthearted assistant, or Theo. The name is the same. Eleanor, who's the youngest daughter in the show. A frightened, fragile young woman. And Luke, the future heir to Hill House. Only one of them has any claim to the name in the book.
Side note, I'm pretty sure Eleanor is the name of one of the female chipmunks.
I think it is, actually.
Yeah. She's like the co-part to Theodore.
We're getting all of our... Oh, yeah. Which is weird, because Theo, too. Maybe they were a big chipmunk fan.
Whoa, bro.
But yeah, so they find out that throughout the movie that Eleanor is being... Or throughout the book, I should say, that Eleanor is being possessed by something in the house. There was a movie in the 60s, The Haunting is what it was called. I haven't seen it yet. It's supposed to be one of the best horror movies ever. It's just got amazing pacing. I bought it on Blu-ray. I found it at a gas station for $3. And I was like, I'm totally going to watch this.
Interesting.
And then there's the 90s remake with Liam Neeson and Owen Wilson. And
it's super faithful to the book.
Yeah, and it's very close to the book, but the movie is also god-awful.
Hot garbage.
Like, it's late 90s CGI, and it's like CGI walls. They didn't even build sets.
What?
Imagine Phantom Menace, but the budget wasn't as big. And think about how much more unpleasant that movie would have
I'm
been.
worried to rewatch that movie because I still have nostalgia lenses, and that movie spooked me a lot when I was a
Don't do
kid.
it. I'm telling you. It happened to me last year. Michelle had never seen it. I had a copy of it. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. I was like, this movie's awesome. I love this movie.
No.
Terrible.
Oh.
Maybe the worst experience of that happening to me.
Since Daredevil?
No, I'm going to say Daredevil, when I was a kid, I thought it was bad.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's hilarious. You know what I mean? It's enjoyable in a whole other facet. It's like grind level.
No.
Maybe even worse.
Ooh, no, that's bad.
One scene in that old adaptation of it that I love is when Luke Wilson looks into the fireplace.
Owen Wilson, yeah.
Oh, Owen Wilson, the WoW guy, looks into the
He's like,
fireplace.
wow, what's in
Imagine
here?
you looked up and
Wow.
went, wow.
Wow.
But then that lion's head
The
thing.
lion's head just chops his head off. It looks terrible now.
Oh.
In my brain, I remember it being so amazing. It looked great. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, Haunting of Hill House. While reading up, I thought this was really interesting. There was a note about how the Crane children in the show represent the 5 stages of grief. And it's all of our characters. It's Stephen, who grows up to be the writer, who doesn't believe in it. He's denial. You have Shirley, Shirley's the oldest sister, and she's anger. She's angry the whole time. Then you have the bargaining person, Theo, who is the one who keeps trying to give Luke another chance. Luke is the drug addict. He represents depression. And then Nell, the youngest daughter, represents acceptance. I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I had never made that connection in the show.
That is nice.
The show's cool because it's got all these hidden ghosts, which I think was a cool touch.
Yeah, it was really incredible.
And I've already seen that worked in some other stuff. I think it's interesting. They hit something that people were really into.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was like watching Psych when Psych hit the pineapple. Did you guys ever watch that show?
No, I never watched Psych.
Oh,
Psych is a good watch, man.
Yeah.
It's honestly a really good series.
In every episode of Psych, there's a pineapple hidden in one of the shots. Either a real one or printed on something. So you're watching the episode and you're trying to find the pineapple. It was the same kind of experience. And there's a website where you can look up where the pineapples are at.
That's crazy.
It's hilarious. That show's really good though. It's funny. Man, I'm going all over the place. A couple other things though about this in particular. Episode 6. There's this thing taking place in a funeral home, and I'm not gonna say who's there or whatever, but they pull off this one take shot that's incredible.
Yeah.
Where they're in the present day timeline in this funeral home. They walk down the hallway, open up the doors, and then they're in the house and their children. So they have all these actors going around, and you got to think that the set was designed to include a funeral home attached, a modern day funeral home next to this thing. It's just really insane to think about. And I just love that thing. It's 15 minutes and 38 seconds long.
It's incredible.
Just one continuous take, just great camera work and plotting. And then the thing I do want to talk about, but I really got to dance around it, is the Red Room, which I think is really interesting. And another trope of this genre where we have one room where something is manifesting or that we're not allowed to go into. And the Red Room, I really can't say any more without spoiling it. If you haven't seen this thing, you really got to check it out.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think it's I don't know. If you're looking for a spooky movie this Halloween season, just watch that show. It's 10 hours. You'll cry a whole bunch.
It's really great.
That's amazing.
For sure I cried watching Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah. I think the spook factor is definitely there. Even as someone that's I would consider seasoned spook watcher. Triple S for short. Oh no, that's SSW.
Would you say you're a kook for spook?
A kook for spook? That's a really good one. Honestly, yeah, it did. I think I'm not going to spoil anything, but my personal spookiest episode would have to be, I think, episode 3 or 4, and that's because the younger brother is my favorite character in the entire series.
Which is another cool thing about the way the show's set up. For the first 5 episodes, you're just getting an episode of each character.
I love it.
Where you see their present day, and then you see what happened to him in the past.
Their personal haunts.
Yeah.
It just keeps you going. You're just like, okay, now I need to know what happened to this person. But man, the ghosts and entities that haunt the younger brother, it gets off the wall, and it's that's the one that spooked me the most for sure. It was really good.
And you had mentioned something about the main draw not being so much the scares, but the emotion surrounding it, and the human aspect. But that's not to take away anything from the scares, because some of these scares are horrifying. The scene when the two sisters are driving in the car, that got me so good. There's so many and they're not even jump scares, but they will make you jump.
And there are some great jump scares too.
Yeah.
There's some jump scares that definitely don't feel cheap at all. It's just good tension building.
Nothing about this series feels cheap.
When I heard they were doing a sequel, Haunting of Bly Manor, which is going to be out in 2020.
That's what they're doing?
They're doing another season in a whole nother house. I was with a different family. They're basically going to pull an American Horror Story.
Oh no.
I was very apprehensive because I was like, well, they nailed it the first time. But the thing that's made me a little bit excited about this is that I didn't realize how much of this they just wrote for the show. Mm-hmm. If you have seen the Liam Neeson haunting, that is the book.
Yeah.
So they've written everything that makes the show special. So I'm hoping the writers can just do it again, but we'll have to see. It just seems like maybe you guys should have stepped away from it and just left it alone. It didn't need to be touched ever again.
No, it would have stood so well alone.
Yeah, but maybe season 2 will be awesome.
It was one of the highest rated original series on Netflix too, which I can see why they have probably that pressure.
How many thumbs?
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Bring back the stars.
I'm almost crazy.
Bring back the reviews.
It's percentages on the PC version, which is even more aggravating. It's only thumbs up on the consoles. Lame. So depending on where you're watching your Netflix, it's different.
I never watched Netflix on a computer.
I'm gonna.
No.
You know what?
No.
I think
my
it's
phone,
better.
my consoles.
Oh man, I think it's so much better on the computer.
I mean, the handy dandy laptop here is strictly for audio. It's had a long life.
Yeah.
My desktop Mac, it actually has pretty good watching value, but man, Netflix on the computer is pretty sweet. It works really great.
Okay, you know what? I might have been spouting fake news.
Fake news.
I thought it was. I'm trying
David,
to find
you're part of the problem, man.
Oh, well, you know what there is? There's that match thing now is what it is. They tell you not whether it's good or not, but
Based
whether
on
you
taste.
think
it's
you'll
a
like
96% match for you.
it. Yeah.
You know, it's a bummer. Netflix used to have watch the trailer before you see it, and then it used to have actual user submitted reviews.
I don't remember the user submitted reviews.
You know, no, I think that was a while.
I remember
back.
you could put 5 stars. I remember that.
That's awesome. But and then when you're watching something on Prime Video too, they actually have the IMDb reviews there, and they have, I think, the Rotten Tomato reviews also there.
I also love how on Prime, when you just press X or whatever you're watching on, it shows the actors in that scene.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
You know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's really great watching experience.
Yeah.
It's really weird. They have
Prime
a really
is
good
cool.
user interface. Yeah,
Because they have billions of dollars.
yeah, because they own. It's because they own IMDb.
Yeah, yeah, right. Jeff Bezos is like, wow, that program's awesome. Okay, how much?
I'm gonna buy it.
Oh, okay. I made that last hour.
Yeah, I don't have to pay taxes this year.
Well, before we get too political, why don't you hit us with your top one, man? Unless you guys had anything else for The Haunting of Hill House.
I think it's a solid
super
pick.
awesome.
It was
2
actually
thumbs up.
on my list also.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
great.
I think so too. Solid pick. So let's move on over and
Move on.
big old surprise over here. My number 2 pick is in.
Well, you're number
Wait,
1.
You're number 1.
Oh man. Well, then I pulled a Frank. That's my number
That's
1.
why we called the first one the runner-up, because it didn't win.
Yeah, traditionally the runner-up is the person who's second.
Oh man. Well, that was my number 1. So,
The Conjuring?
yeah.
Okay, oops. Okay, well, everyone just shuffle your brain around a little bit and pretend like you're just waiting for Danny's number 1. Danny,
we
what's
go.
your runner-up?
This is my runner-up. Also in the James Waniverse. Insidious. I was gonna go with Insidious.
Okay.
I think it's, it's weird. It has only a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 66% rating. But maybe it's just one of those personal taste things, because I just really enjoyed this movie when it came out.
I mean, it is fantastic. That's the first point that I want to make. It is an awesome movie that I love very much. The second point that I would like to make is I have to disagree with your pick, Danny, because it's not about the house. It's about the family. It followed him through his childhood.
And however, double down. I hate that movie. I don't like that movie at all.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why I haven't seen The Conjuring, because I hated Insidious so much.
Oh man. Well,
Oops.
Opposed.
That was me.
To get your point with the counterpoint, we did talk about the stipulation of the filming locations.
No, well, we did at the beginning, but it's not the house that is haunted.
Yeah, but we brought that point up, which brought the second point up.
But also the other point that I made. Yeah, like this. Not that I'm trying to debate the other thing, but the other point that I made in that part of the conversation was that the haunting is at the one location and it doesn't follow the family place to place. Much like Paranormal Activity.
Where specifically an entity.
But I mean, I love this movie. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we've done way more ridiculous things.
I'm the king of shoehorning.
Yeah. We're going to say...
But I also just really like to
it's a haunted
debate.
house movie because the house was actually haunted. The place they filmed it.
See, the thing is, also, too, you don't also understand that it's the person for the majority of the movie.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You're led to believe
that is like
a house.
the big reveal. It's like, you can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah. And here comes Danny with his shoehorn. He's got it in. His foot's in the door.
I'm just saying.
Beautifully
no.
done.
I'm saying you've done it.
I applaud you. As the main shoehorner on the channel, I applaud you.
Yeah.
I think besides this one, and I think Paranormal Activity came out just a year before this, 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
These are like one of the two pioneering movies of that kind of subgenre.
Yeah.
In like hauntings being based on persons. And I think, it's you can say it goes to exorcisms and all that. There's been all that before, which are based on persons. But I mean, there's not really an exorcism scene in this movie, which is really cool. It is hauntings, but there's no generic exorcism scene, which I like. Which, going back to my first...
I don't think every haunting is a possession. You know what I mean? I feel like that... Like, possession movie, we could do a whole nother episode on possession movies.
Those are...
Oh my God, the pile of possession movies. Jesus.
I mean, it's still The Exorcist.
To be fair, The Conjuring has an exorcism scene.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was beautiful. I wish y'all could have seen that. But... that's actually my least favorite part of the trope of haunted house movies and or possession or haunting movies. It's
like the cleansing?
Yeah, the third act.
The climax.
It's always the third act.
You know what cracks me up? The favorite
final
one
confrontation
is in Paranormal Activity, where that demonologist shows up and he's like, whoa,
I'm out of
this
here.
thing is way too angry.
Too spicy.
I don't know what you've done.
I shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
That's a great subversion.
Yeah,
that's an awesome subversion.
Because you think you know what the trope is, and then they're like, nope.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
That's a big trope, too, of just like, oh, and this is the expert that's going to help us out of this.
Yeah. Because we need someone to sort this out.
And I think that's why I kind of liked Insidious a bit more, because it did focus on like the spiritual aspects of all of it, the astral planes, and what's it called? Astral projection.
God, I love that whole aspect of it.
And there's a medium aspect to it. And there's no exorcist in it. There's a medium that comes in and kind of guides, like spiritually guides. There's a little bit of paranormal investigation in it. And that's all brought in from the writer Lee... Oh, I don't know if I ever say his name right, but Lee Whannell, I think is his name, who ends up writing a lot more in the Wanverse after that.
Well, on paper, what you described sounds a lot like The Conjuring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the same kind of elements.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's not part of it. He's not part of The Conjuring. He doesn't write for it, but he does write the rest of the Insidious movies, I think, except for one of them. And one of the other parts in the Conjuring movies, maybe one of the Annabelle movies. But I think he's a great writer, and he definitely has the same kind of vibe that he's going for in all of this. Him and James Wan work together really well. I like this movie a lot. It was shot on a very low budget.
Ghost notification.
A ghostification. Can you guys guess? Let's just say this. What do you think it was filmed on?
$14 million.
Okay, David says 14.
A camera.
Smart.
True.
I like
Technically
that.
True.
Budget-wise?
Yeah, budget-wise.
Insidious. What year did it come out?
2010.
I'm going to guess $20 million.
$1 million.
What?
Hey.
Dude, they definitely made more than $1 million.
They said it was really arduous. Like, it was like 3 weeks of straight filming and continuous takes.
They're like, guys, we are constantly running out of money. We got to get this done.
Yeah, and considering, like, there's a small amount of special effects in Insidious, I would say. And a lot of it is character acting. Some pretty decent character acting. You know, it features Night Owl, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah. Who's also in Conjuring? Okay,
Also in The Conjuring, who plays Ed Warren.
There we go. Yeah.
So they can't really be in the same universe, honestly.
Yeah.
Really.
Unless they're just two characters that happen to look exactly the same.
That'll happen sometimes.
Sometimes it
Doppelgangers.
does.
Before you get too far away, I looked at Paranormal Activity's budget because I was like, wasn't Paranormal Activity $1 million too?
Was it $1 million? I don't even think it was. It was like
What do you think?
200,000.
This is just the guessing box office budget.
Yeah, right.
Game.
I always look them up, but I'm terrible at guessing. I'm going to guess
200,001.
no 800,000.
15,000.
Wow.
What? That's nothing.
And it made gross or cumulative worldwide gross 193 million.
That's honestly really impressive because like the effects are, I mean, awesome. A lot of them are really simple. They take it back to basics, but even like the bigger stuff is really cool.
A lot of it is like really
guys,
done.
practical.
We say it every episode of this, no matter what the genre
It's really
is.
nice one. It's
when they
really,
remaster your movie, do you want it to look worse or better?
and the thing is, it's all about the fixed camera angle in that movie.
Oh yeah, that's
You know
where the
what I
tension
mean?
comes from.
Yeah, it's like Resident Evil 2, the original one.
It's all about like
You know
your
what I mean?
narrow field of view, like you're
What
just
can you
as much
do
fear.
in this one frame to make things work?
It adds to the spoopies.
Yeah, you got a reduction. It's got a reductionist point of view. Anyways, it was very arduous to film. Apparently, it was really focused on the character acting. I really love it. It's got some really good depictions of like spiritualism and really cool. Like every time they go into the further, which is like the astral plane.
For a second, I thought we were still talking about Paranormal Activity, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait.
No, yeah, we're back on Inside.
But yes, also yes.
But still.
Also really cool. I like that there's still a 1-2 punch and like a slip under the rug when you kind of think you know what the story is about near the end. And it kind of spurns off into everything. Insidious 2 and 3, they end up being really cool. Honestly, my scariest part of it was like the lady, they barely talk about it in this one, but the lady that haunted Patrick Wilson's character, the lady in black or whatever, who ends up being a bigger entity in the next phase of the movie.
I mean, even the ending itself, it's like, whoa,
yeah,
dude.
Awesome ending.
What's the ending? Oh well, let's not spoil it.
Yeah, we'll not spoil it, but we'll tell you
me
afterwards.
Yeah.
I forgot some of this.
I didn't even get back to the part that I was talking about. Okay.
Oh, you know what? Just to get it like on the episode really quick, David, the ending to this movie is that.
Yeah.
David, that's not a huge reaction.
I saw that coming. I remember that.
I will
feeling.
say the story that develops in the second one is a lot more enticing. But the spooks are better in the second one too.
Okay.
I also did list the budget at $1 million. Can you guys guess what this thing grossed?
Oh,
Not as much as Paranormal. I will say that.
uh,
That's incredible. What that made.
50 millions.
Frank says 50 millions.
I'm gonna say
No, wait. 69 million.
There you go.
70 million.
It's more of a Frank answer. There you go. Price is right. 2 Frank answers in one.
Twice the Frank for the price
It was
of
probably
one.
like 140 though.
97 million.
97. Okay.
Whoa.
You can see why these movies spurn on all of
my
these.
God.
Well, that's why they gave them the
Profit,
green light
man.
to do Conjuring. They're like, hey, let's give you a whole universe, man.
Yeah,
Can you
it really
keep-
was.
Oh my
Can
God,
you keep
you're
putting
a
that out?
money printing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, for those who haven't seen Insidious, let's talk a little bit about the synopsis. Essentially, married couple Josh, Patrick Wilson, Night Owl from Watchmen, and Renee Lambert, Rose Byrne, they move into their first house with their sons, Dalton and Foster. Dalton's the young kid from Jurassic Park, Ty Simpkins, I think. The Jurassic World, sorry.
Yeah. Ugh.
Just a family moving into a new
Crap.
house. What could go wrong?
And their baby, Foster. Dalton and Foster, they're the 2 young boys, infant daughter Callie. They recently...
Very Caucasian family names.
Oh, super name. Dalton, their son Hunter and Trapper and Laser. So one day Dalton is playing. He's drawn into the attic and frightened by something in the shadows that's not seen off camera. Another great part of this movie is what is not seen and what is seen and what still instills fear. Really well done. Also, great music in this movie, I think. They had really good, like, I don't know what the technical term for strings would be. They do kind of like staccato hits, but they also do very like this whiny violin sound, this whiny.
And for sure, they
string.
use that instrument that they use in a lot of horror movies that almost
Yeah.
looks like a bunch of nails and
I
a
wouldn't mind
cone
one
that
of
you
those
play with the
things.
bow.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but they're super
Is it like
dope.
a sliding sound?
They do kind of like a...
Oh, it's like a glissando of some kind.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange.
With the tremolo.
It's kind of like a laughing effect almost.
Yeah, very, very tension
They
building.
could be playing it and messing with a peg. Like,
And the opening of this movie, when the title comes up on frame, it's like, bang! It's like a very intense orchestra hit. But really well done. I love it. Anyways, Dalton hits his head. He goes into an inexplicable coma. After 3 months of treatment without result, Renee and Josh are allowed to take Dalton home. Afterwards, paranormal activity starts to occur in the house. It gets really weird. A lot of spooky things start happening. There's voices over the baby monitor, which is one of the coolest parts also.
I really like the scene when they're at like the dinner party and then the ghosts make everybody like do the singing dances. Shake, 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 Sonora, shake your body right.
I think that's definitely the same movie.
That's right.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to be.
That's how it's organized in my head.
Essentially, Dalton, does the horror trope of drawing a picture of what he sees. It's something crazy. Looks like a demon. Then they are calling in all these paranormal investigators who then call in the medium, Elise, who's a big part of the franchise. She's able to talk about what the astral plane is, the further, how spirits work. Essentially goes on from there. I don't want to ruin the ending, so I can't really go on from there, but it's a lot of spook stuff.
Oh, so many good spooks. Like the one I'm thinking of specifically is when they're playing the what's that dude's name? Little Timmy?
Yeah.
When they're playing the Tiny Tim. Yeah. And the shot through the window where like the little boy ghost isn't there and then he's there and then he's gone. That's a good little shot.
It's really good.
That little dance he does is so terrifying.
And it's actually a small man in that's dressed up as a boy.
Oh,
in
really?
the production. Yeah, that's why it looks a little bit off.
That's probably what
too.
adds to the creep. Yeah, and then he's all like his clothes is all out of the era and stuff.
Ooh. It's really weird. They did a lot of really cool makeup effects. One of my favorite parts is when they are in the astral plane and they're inside their own house. And there's this like weird 50s family in there that probably lived there before. And they have this really weird cut frame effect where like the smiles change they don't show the people move. I'm sorry. They don't show the ghosts moving. They show them like frame to frame. They're somewhere else. Frame to frame. They're somewhere else. Which that quick cut kind of creates a sense of like instability. And there's a scene where like the ladies, the families like they're all sitting down in the living room watching TV. Mom's ironing and stuff. And then one of the quick frames is where the daughter disappears, goes upstairs, comes back with a shotgun, and then you just hear a shotgun blast. And next thing, like all of the family's dead. They're all laying on the couch. And then the lady, I think it's Elise, turns around, turns back, and it's like they're all looking at her and smiling and stuff.
And if I remember correctly, they're all like frozen scenes.
That's
right?
what I mean.
Yeah.
Like there's no shots of them moving.
Yeah, they're all just like, the like creepy smiles.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really well done.
See, I thought all this stuff was really funny.
Oh man,
like it did not land as scary for me. I was like,
but you're also like,
this is silly.
A serial killer.
Yeah,
so.
True. You know what I mean? But it's the same problem with like
the spook.
It Chapter 1. Like a lot of the scares were just like funny, and I was like, well, this has deflated this for me. It's not Tim Curry. It's not the same.
I think the whole like playfulness kind of plays to the idea that like the devil, like as a character, is a trickster. He doesn't go straight for that. He's like, hey, we're just having a good time, man.
But I don't think James
much
Wan
like the guy who runs the island for all the boys in Pinocchio.
Wow.
I just don't think that's what James Wan was going for. Not an Island of Boys Pinocchio vibe.
Why do you turn everybody into donkeys then?
I
gotta just start doing some memory exercises.
Another little factoid is the composer of the film, also Joseph Bishara, same guy from The Conjuring, was Darth Maul guy.
Oh,
he was the cameo of the Darth Maul demon that everyone laughs about, who I also laugh about because it looks really silly.
I mean, that was funny.
Yeah,
that part has never made sense to me because it's like, okay, so this demon. Obviously, this is after he's chopped in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi. But is it before he gets the mechanical spider legs or after the mechanical spider legs?
Well, I don't know. He does have hoofs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got cloven feet. He's got those like really scissory fingers.
I don't know where that
Got a forked
ties
tongue.
into the Star Wars timeline. And this is expanded universe stuff already, so it's confusing. But that is
I mean,
like,
I'm sure it's confusing now, but it's not like we're going to talk about Star Wars later on in this episode.
We probably will.
I mean, who knows?
It'll come back.
Only if we talk of episode 2 being a horror film because it was such trash.
Oh, I thought for some reason I thought you meant 5. I was like, oh, the real second one. But the Darth Maul thing, I mean, that part's really funny, and I've seen a bunch of people say it's like one of the best jump scares ever. I'm like, it looks silly. I think, like, if you looked up a list of the best jump scares, it would be on there.
I think it was a cool effect, but it just didn't make sense, and then it was a little out of placement, especially looking at it back and now. When I saw it in theaters, I was like, "Whoa!" It got me off guard. But I don't know. Yeah, like I think it is a little cheap. But like I said, like the third act in these films is usually where this stuff just falls apart, where they have to fight the ghost or they have to do some blah blah blah. These are the parts in new horror movies that need to be revamped or kind of like redone.
I mean, especially when there's a MacGuffin. Just leave the MacGuffin out of this.
Yeah. People are always going after the guff.
Again, yeah. But yeah, I love that movie. Watched it a bunch of times. Really dope. Honorable shout out for me.
Shout out to myself.
Shout out to myself.
No, it would be for one of the movies that was a runner-up, which is Housebound.
Wait, do you mean like another winner or another like second place?
Tied for first?
I'll let y'all decide. It's Housebound, a 2014 film from New Zealand. Really cool. Really well done.
I've definitely never seen that. I'm going to have to check it out.
Either. Oh, it's super awesome. I mean, a very quick synopsis of it would be like this young girl, kind of a troublemaker, gets in trouble with the law, is forced to go into house arrest at her family home. Her mom's become kind of estranged and stuff, and her stepdad too. And weird stuff starts happening at the home, but she's also going to like see a psychologist, so people aren't really believing her off of what she's saying in the house. And essentially she finds out that her house was like a halfway house before they moved into it, and that there was some kind of murder there, and she's starting to think that some kind of haunting is going down. There's a big old twist. It's really cool. Okay. Really fun to watch, too. It's a horror comedy, too, which is even better.
Oh, yeah. When they can meld that, horror comedy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, good horror comedy.
Shout out to Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, love it.
Oh, nice. Shout out to One Cut of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And while we're at it, Juan of the Dead as well. That's a great movie.
Nice.
All right, all the of the Deads. Frank, give us your number 1 or maybe your number 3.
I mean, my number 1. Yeah, who knows? Some of you know. Who knows what I have in mind? I am gonna shoehorn a little bit, but I have what I feel like are very strong arguments to make this not even a shoehorn, and I'm actually really excited to defend this a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm fully prepared to debate you.
I was even more excited to defend this because I knew I was about to do this the whole time I was giving Danny crap, which just really made it more fun to be like, you broke the rules, knowing really the whole time, like, all right, my turn.
Well, Frank right now.
Now watch how I break the rules. So my number 1 pick is a relatively unknown. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Not really big names like attached to it. Definitely wasn't written by a big name.
Huge. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it was Poltergeist from 1982.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. No, I'm just kidding. So it was directed by Tobe Hooper, who also did Cool World. Written by Stephen Tobe. Tobe. His name is
How do you spell his name?
Tobe.
Tobe.
You didn't shout him out for the Leatherface credit? You decided to go with Cool World?
Yeah. It's more fun this way. Okay. Well, I really did it because a few of the people behind the scenes, like, they are a team, and Cool World is one of the things they all did together. Oh, especially the other guys who really didn't do anything of note except for Cool World in this movie.
Quick question. Have you guys seen that movie?
I have not seen Cool World.
Cool World's
I
dope.
read a short synopsis about it just because I was curious. Sounds really interesting. I'd be really down to check it out.
It's weird.
I bought it because at the time, I don't know if it still is, it was out of print and it was worth like $60.
Wow.
And I found it for like $1 somewhere. And I was like, well, I just have to buy this just because it's
worth.
I'm not going to run into this again. But anyway, we should watch sometime, Frank. That'd be fun.
Weird
I'd be super down. So the Cool World team that also is on the Poltergeist movie is the director, Tobe Hooper, 2 of the writers, Michael Grace and Mark Victor. The 3rd writer is, of course, Steven Spielberg, famous for being Steven Spielberg and doing all the Steven Spielberg spiels.
Is he the one with the dinosaurs and stuff?
What a little dinosaur man. The movie follows the Freeling family, played by Steve, hosted by Steve, Craig T. Nelson from Coach. Love me some Craig T. Nelson. Get that hairline all the way back.
Yeah, dude, that's
a landing strip up there.
Yeah, you have Diane, played by Jo Beth Williams, who is also, fun fact, Rita's mom in Dexter.
Ooh, that is a fun fact.
That's super fun, right? Robbie, who is the youngest son, played by Oliver Robbins, who like just was a child actor for a little while. Did some cameos later on in life. Dana, the oldest daughter, played by Dominique Dunn, and Carol Ann, played by Heather O'Rourke. I didn't do them by like the reason I listed them this way is because both Dominique Dunn and Heather O'Rourke died untimely deaths after the making of this film.
Yeah,
which is also a spooky
It's
fact.
one of these weird ones, yeah. Where
Yeah, Heather O'Rourke's was
spooky
really
stuff.
just like a misdiagnosis, and I use that word because I'm going to use it in my argument later on to provide for this movie. Dominic Dunn was actually strangled by her ex-boyfriend, and she was in a coma for a couple of days, and she died, which is like really sad.
That's pretty sad.
But I just thought it was kind of interesting that like these haunted characters like
pretty spooky.
died pretty sucky deaths in real life. So the visual effects supervisor, which is I was really excited about because he touched our hearts at many points in our life, is this dude named Richard Edlund. When did he touch your heart, do you ask? He just worked on some small projects like Return of the Jedi, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Bedazzled, Multiplicity,
Wow.
Tales from the Crypt, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard, y'all. This guy is a heavy hitter in the
man.
visual game.
Wow.
Hey.
That must
Right?
be why that clown's so spooky.
Oh my God. And like, there's a lot of like really early CGI that is, to be 100% fair, awful in Poltergeist.
Oh, the scene with all the stuff spinning around in the room.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
there's this one
That's
scene with
bad.
a tornado in the background when
Yep.
everything's kind of kicking off for the first time.
It's
and it straight
a
up
drawing.
looks like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
It is so funny.
Yeah.
But it kind of adds to like the campiness. You got to have some campiness in a horror movie.
Man, that tree though. That
Yeah,
was-
that spooky tree is so
is
good, man.
really good.
And I
It's
really
good.
like, one of the things I like the most about Poltergeist is the build. I think it's really good. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know that like hauntings aren't totally a movie universe thing for me. Like in my mind, they exist in real life, and as far as I'm concerned.
Shout out WeDAP 31.
And yeah, and the way this starts out, it starts off pretty mundane. It's just like a family living in their house. They have like really just like everyday things going on. There's this really funny scene at the beginning where Craig T. Nelson has all his friends over and they're trying to watch the football game, and then suddenly the channel changes to Mr. Rogers, and it's because him and his neighbor have the same set and their sets are too close
And they yell
together,
at each other.
and they're like yelling at each other, and they're having a fight with their remotes, switching each other's TV back and forth.
I
is
love it.
So funny, and in between you just have like weird things happening in the house. Like, oh, that was kind of weird, Carol Ann. That's kind of weird how you're just talking to the TV there.
Yeah.
That-
Or hey, things are moving around. Even when things start moving, mom thinks it's like really fun.
Oh yeah, in the kitchen.
Yeah. She's like running all those experiments where she's like, she knows the spot
the
to put
kid
the
up.
chair in, and she like puts Carol Ann in there and she slides across the floor. Really fun stuff.
Real quick, that movie has that quintessential Steven Spielberg magic to it. You know what I
yes,
mean? It's got
dude.
like cinematic family building magic, but also just building. I don't know. It's got like that all American film kind of magic feel to it.
Yeah, they feel like an all-American family.
That's what
You
Steven
totally
Spielberg
like love
does,
them.
Yeah.
He does it.
He nails it down.
Dude's got a formula, and sometimes the formula just works.
Isn't there a kitchen scare where like, what is it where she turns around and all the chairs are? What is it? There's something.
They're all
So
up on
that
the
first
table,
one,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
she like all the chairs are just on top of the table,
Which is also in Sixth Sense. Doesn't that same thing happen where the mom turns around in the kitchen and all the chairs are stacked up?
no. In Sixth Sense,
Or
you
it's all
find
the
out that
windows.
Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
No, there.
All the windows are open?
I think
Oh,
it might
all
be
the
in a movie
cabinets?
where like it happens, all the furniture's gone, and it's actually up on the ceiling, and then it just drops. And I think that's in one of the movies. I can't remember.
That also happens in Paranormal Activity 2, I'm pretty
That's
sure.
also that. Those fly
confusing.
out. Yeah,
There's a
those
lot of
explode.
things. Those
Everything
explode.
explodes out
Boom.
of the cat. That was a good one.
I can't remember. Anyway, sorry.
Well,
I
they
was just
do
thinking
have
about
a Poltergeist remake too. That might happen.
Yeah, with Sam Rockwell.
I kind of forgot about that, and then in my,
It was okay.
I've never seen the remake,
Nah, me either.
It's okay.
and it's a shame because I love Sam Rockwell.
He's the best
Yeah,
part of
dude.
it. I mean, it's literally it's almost a shot for shot remake, but there's no magic in it.
Better CGI.
Better
I hope.
CGI and no magic.
Hopefully, I mean, from 1982, you better have stepped up your game. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing that I like about this slow build is that when it finally kicks off, and it heavily involves this creepy tree outside of Robbie and Carol Ann's room that Danny mentioned before, there's this like storm, and they're trying to calm the kids down and stuff, and it's been stormy. And then all of a sudden, the tree just busts through the window and
Oh, yeah.
straight up kidnaps
Leroy
Robbie. Yeah,
Jenkins!
100% Leroy Jenkins into the room,
Yeah.
steals Robbie out of there. The whole family panics. but it's a ruse the whole time. And the closet opens up and there's a portal to like another dimension and it sucks Carol Ann in.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because it just like turns it up to 100 in a second. And
Yeah,
you think
it
like,
does.
wow, that's a lot. And then it just keeps getting crazier visually. Just some scenes that I want to shout out. There are a team of paranormal investigators that come in because somebody's got to come in and solve the problem.
Classic.
They don't mention how they find these people because it's 1982. She already mentioned in the movie that Diane, the mother, that like I looked in the yellow pages. There's nothing about like things moving in the house
or something,
So
right?
yeah, I don't know how they hooked up with this lady, but the team shows up. It's led by Dr. Lesh, is played by Beatrice Straight. I don't know what else she did, but I feel like everybody did a great job in this movie, so give them their shout out. Also, Martin Casella, whose character's name is Morty, and Ryan, who's played by Richard Lawson, who kind of looks like Billy D. Williams.
Oh, is he the money hungry guy?
Billy D.
No, he's just part of the team. Yeah,
Okay,
he's like one of the tech guys.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's really funny. All the equipment they bring in really dates the movie because it's all just like super clunky, man. They just got
VCRs,
these huge 80s pieces of equipment. It's so funny. It like adds to the feel of the movie, really. So visually, there's a really cool scene like while you're getting towards the climax of Morty. When he wakes up, or they're kind of staking out. Yeah. So they're staking out the house one of these nights and he goes to get some food from the fridge. He's like he's getting ready to warm up this piece of steak, eating a cold drumstick. And he looks at the steak and there's a bunch of maggots coming out of it. And he looks at the drumstick he's been eating. There's a bunch of maggots coming out of the drumstick. And he like freaks out, goes to the bathroom to wash out his mouth. All of a sudden the light gets super bright and he sees this like crack in his skin and he kind of picks at it.
Yeah.
And the visuals for that scene, honestly, like as soon as you see it, like you're like, you know how they did it because it's like a dude's shoulders and arms and they have like a fake head on top of it and it looks super fake, but still the effect of him peeling his entire face off down to the skull,
it's good,
and it looks like cold menudo. You know what I mean? It's all like jelly and red and gross. Is so satisfying. That is such a good scene, and he snaps out of it and realizes it's like the ghost messing with him.
That's one of the scenes that in the remake they do really well. Because the CGI really helps out a lot in that scene. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, man. And that like scares Morty so bad that like they decide to go back to the lab to kind of collect their stuff. They're going to come back and help them out later. Morty refuses to like come back, but they come back with reinforcements. The reinforcements and like this lady makes the movie. I don't know. She's such a quintessential part of the movie. You know what I mean? When I think Poltergeist, I think of
Caroline.
Yes, I think of this lady's voice. And that is the character's name is Tanjing, played by Zelda Rubinstein. Tiny little lady.
Yeah.
Full of character. For 4 foot
awesome.
3 inches of woman, she like steals the scenes. You know what I mean? She takes a reading on the house. She tells them that the house is full of all these spirits who are lost trying to find their way. But there's one like evil spirit, the Beast, who craves Carol Ann for her life force. Carol Ann for her life force.
Sweet Carol
So they decide they do a bunch of experiments. All the visuals for the experiments are super cool. Like as they're touring through the house, there's all these strange things happening. There's a lot of really cool. The CGI light effects aren't as terrible because they're really simple. They look a lot better than the Twister. You also get the way they do the portals, I think, is really cool. It's like a spinning light and just kind of this whirlwind storm. You get some more Menudo stuff and they finally pull Carol Ann out and they're like covered in it. I could go for some Menudo right now, honestly.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
You talk yourself right into it.
The climax of the film. So I feel okay spoiling Poltergeist. Like if you haven't seen it at this point, like it came out in 1982. Come on, give me a break.
You're sleeping.
They rescue Carol Ann from let's just refer to it as the Nether and make everything easier. You know what I mean?
The upside down.
I think in my notes I refer to it as the Ether because they kind of like call out to her and stuff. They can communicate while she's trapped. They can communicate with her through like the white noise and the TV, which is like a really cool thing. And that's important for like the ending scene. There's like one last little like jab that made me laugh really hard. I don't know if you remember because I didn't remember on my watch through. And when they did it, I was like, good stuff. But we'll get there. So they think everything's fine. They decide like we got to get out of here. They're moving out of the house. It's their last night in the house. Everything's packed in the moving truck. Carol Ann doesn't really like. They mention that she doesn't really remember anything. Like she's just like fine. Like, she's not traumatized at all. But Craig T. Nelson goes to the office to tie up some loose ends because he's leaving that job. He's done with it. He needs to get out. While everybody's at home waiting, Mom is in the bathtub, like dyeing her hair, and the spoopies decide it's time to strike again. They make their second move. Things just fly off of the handle immediately. There's like this skeleton, like spider monster.
That's right.
There's a really cool scene of Mom trying to run to the kids' room, and you get that elongated hallway thing. Like, as she's running, the hallway keeps getting longer and longer, trying to keep away from the goal. That's where you have the creepy clown scene with the clown doll. Oh my God, that thing.
That one gets crazy.
I watched it last night. I'm a 28-year-old man. It still made me jump. I knew it was going to happen. And still, like, when it grabs him, I was like, ooh, fun stuff.
Stretches and all that.
Oh my God. He just like envelops him like an anaconda.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
crazy. All the visual scenes, like, she ends up like getting to the kids. They get him out of there. Like, Craig T. Nelson shows up. He's rescuing the family. They run to their station wagon. As they're pulling out of the garage, this casket shoots through the garage door, and it like launches a skeleton out of the casket, like onto the car. When Craig T. Nelson shows up, he sees like all this happening, and he's like, he finds out there's like straight up bodies like coming out of the pool that they're digging. It's because their house was built on what used to be a graveyard.
The whole housing project.
Which is really my whole main argument for this being a haunted house movie, because they diagnose it as a poltergeist, like the name of the movie, that it follows the person rather than the house. I would count this as a misdiagnosis or two diseases occurring at the same time, because it is tied to the land that they're on.
That's true.
It is 100% tied to the land. That's the whole reason everything's happening, because the development company moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. Yeah. Why didn't you move the bodies? You only moved the headstones. Why?
One of the best.
Why?
Yeah.
That's a really cool freak out. So the family bails out. At this point, the chaos is spilling out all over the neighborhood.
There's so much going on.
Things are blowing up in the streets. Everybody's coming out of their house. The family's getting the F out of there, and the whole house like implodes on itself. Like, it gets sucked back in.
That's so cool.
I remember like all of that happening. I was just like, is this really happening, or is this like some kind of like exaggerated dream or something?
Yeah, it's like in their heads or something.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, because like that visual, that CGI, I think, is where they spent most of their budget, because it's the best looking CGI in the whole movie.
That
it's
does
honestly
look really good.
Super cool.
The whole scene with the pool is creepy.
Yeah, when just like all the bodies are crawling out, and then
The mud is
dude, they're just trying to pull everybody down.
It's good stuff.
It's a great movie, man.
It's a fantastic movie.
Holds up pretty well too.
So the family like F's the heck out of there. They're gone. They check in this cheap motel. They're just gonna move the next day. Everybody looks beat. They all walk into the hotel room, and the final shot of the movie, the door closes, pauses for a second, and the door opens back up, and Craig T. Nelson rolls the TV in the room out, like on the balcony. It's like, nah, we're not even dealing with this tonight. Like, no chances. The budget wise, it's an estimated $10,700,000.
It's pretty cheap.
Any guesses on how much they made worldwide?
I say
60.
I say 500 million.
Oh,
Dang, Danny, that would have been nice, but they actually made $142,388.
Because it's
That's
movie.
a small number.
It's an old movie.
Yeah, it wasn't
Extrapolated, it's probably closer to
Yeah.
500 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably didn't have the same market to go out to in that many theaters and all that stuff. But that's really crazy.
Solid movie all the way around. 7.3 on IMDb, 85%
Universal
Rotten
movie.
Tomatoes. It is a Universal
Right?
movie. And it's, I mean, just, I can't say dope enough.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic.
it's really good.
It's one of the movies I love since my childhood. My sister refuses to watch it. If she watched it one time, terrified her. She will not watch it
It's
again.
also like a good horror movie for like kids, because I don't think there's a lot of inappropriate stuff in it. There's like
No,
blood
definitely
in
not.
that movie.
The goriest thing
It's
would be the face
face.
picking
The
face
part,
peel,
and
for
that's
sure.
that's a spook. It even gets you
Yeah.
now.
I mean, it's like scary, but it's a good way to like, it's fine to be scared. See, it's a movie, everything's
Yeah.
fine. Nobody died.
Exactly, and it's so fantastical. Yeah. Well, it's time for our number one, and just on time.
Ghost Train.
Ghost Train.
Oh, one of my favorite Hey Arnold episodes.
Oh, that is a good Hey
it was a
Arnold
good
episode.
My number one pick, Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers.
Ooh, David.
Shaggy inherits a mansion from one of his long-lost uncles in Louisiana, and he goes down there and he will get the mansion if he can stay there a night.
As you
And
do.
it turns out that it's haunted by Confederate ghosts.
Ooh, racist ghosts.
Ooh, doesn't age well. No, this isn't really my pick. I did it twice, everyone. I did the fake out twice.
You know, it's funny.
David,
is
I
that
am
it was
so impressed with you
yeah,
right now.
thank you.
It was the exact same premise as the
That's the Don Knotts movie, which is why I went with it,
Yeah.
because they're the same movie, and it's always the stupid story. You just have to stay in the house, and it's yours.
Bye bye.
Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers is great, though.
I mean,
It's
that's
awesome.
almost Scary Movie 2, too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because they don't get to keep the house, but they get paid for like being part of
Yeah.
the study.
It's The Haunting.
And
And
it is
Scary
the
Movie
Haunting.
2.
It is,
Yeah,
it's
the
based
Haunting.
off The Haunting.
They actually do an homage to one of the scenes in Poltergeist when mom gets when everything kicks off, mom gets thrown against the wall and she gets dragged all across the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
They do that scene in Scary
Yeah.
Movie 2.
Well, they do the clown one too. Do you remember it?
Yes, they do
Do
the
they
clown
do
one.
that?
And
But it's a lot dirtier.
very inappropriate.
Did they do a Scooby-Doo chase scene in one of the
Scary
scary
Movie 2?
movies? I thought they did
I
in
don't
one of
remember,
them.
but I wouldn't put it past them.
Huh. Anyway, before we jump off that ship, the problematic thing about
That
the movie
ghost
now
ship?
is at the end of Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers, we find out that the Confederate ghosts are like the good guys. And they like help out Scooby and Shaggy.
Problematic.
Problematic. Now you would tear down that ghost monument. But anyway, my number one pick, everyone, and I love this segment because every time I get to end it, I get to exclaim that mine is the best pick out of all of us. And now that Danny's here, I can definitively say I have the best one, and everyone is going to agree who watches this.
I don't know how definitive that is.
I've declared it.
Sounds very subjective.
No, in no way. It's been declared.
I mean, sometimes serial killers are megalomaniacs. So what can you do?
Yeah, well, deal with it. 1980s The Shining by Stanley Kubrick.
What
My
is
word.
a hotel if not a house for many people?
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't think of a better example where it is like undeniably the location. You know what I mean? Like it's that place that drives people insane. And it's all the
also a really good
different lives
extended
that come
hallway
in.
scene.
Also,
Tropes. Keep the tropes rolling.
doesn't Danny have The Shining though?
Yeah, but The Shining has
Is a
nothing to
gift.
do with like it's weird. It's like two concurrent stories.
Right.
Like Danny is gifted,
Yeah,
but his dad is also being driven crazy by this thing.
that's right.
And he ends up using The Shining at the end to contact his friend. That's ultimately how they escape.
Yeah.
So let's just jump in here. Stephen King wrote the book, obviously. He was actually very disappointed when the movie came out. He said that he often described the film as a fancy car without an engine. He said that it was all surface and no substance. He was very upset.
It's nothing. It's not
Kubrick
like
made
the-
a ton of changes.
Oh, yeah. It's
I've
not like the
seen
the
Stephen
book.
King's part of Creepshow now, and he just needs to shut up.
Right?
They made a Stephen King series of The Shining,
Yeah, they made a TV one
and it's
that's
faithful.
and it's not very good. I mean, it's not any worse than any of the other made-for-TV Stephen King miniseries.
How do you stack up to Kubrick though?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the other problem too. How dare you even remake a movie that Stanley Kubrick made? Like,
That's
what do you
worries
expecting?
me about this next one, man.
Well, and which is this cracked me up even more. I didn't pick these two, on purpose, but there's so many connections to Haunting of Hill House, especially with the director now doing Dr. Sleep, which I thought was kind of weird that it just ended up that way. I thought this was funny. Stephen King actually submitted a screenplay that would have been a much more traditional horror movie, like spooks and stuff. And because if you think about it, The Shining doesn't have that many like scares. It's mostly about Jack Nicholson going nuts, and then yes, there are some spooky stuff happening, but it's not the main focus. It's not. It doesn't feel like a horror movie. I would even say.
It's the narrative of a man being driven to madness.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
a thriller.
It's a thriller
Yeah.
of some kind, but
And
Some
a
of those-
vehicle for Stanley Kubrick to ruin another actress.
well, I'm glad you
Oh,
brought
yeah.
that up too. We're gonna get in that for sure. But apparently, he rejected Stephen King's screenplay. He was like, "No, it's Kubrick. I'm not filming this,
Dude, only Kubrick could be just like
Right?
trash.
It's like I don't
So-
care.
and Kubrick, in case you don't know about this, Kubrick is infamously, or I should say, notoriously.
Nefarious.
No. Notorious.
I'll just continue for the last one. He is difficult to work with, and he
Yeah.
demands a ton from his actors
So
and
many
actresses.
takes.
So many takes, and he makes these crazy demands that put people on edge. And I'm almost positive it's what broke Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Eyes Wide Shut. It probably broke him on the inside. And
I mean,
then
and
that was
like,
it.
Scientology.
That's what let the Scientology in, I'm sure.
He cracked open the door for the crazies.
So here's a couple of ones that I thought were just really funny. Jack Nicholson, in order to get him in the right, like, agitated mood, he was only fed cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks.
Oh God!
So for a full 2 weeks, that's all he had to eat was cheese sandwiches.
Like a cold cheese sandwich.
And he hates cheese sandwiches.
Oh my God!
So they just for 2 weeks, that's all he ate. They gave him food that he specifically hated, so that he would just be on edge and just upset.
Kubrick just threw a bunch of cheese sandwiches on a bed, and he was like, "Roll around till you're numb."
Which also, that's a good time to bring this up. I mean, Jack Nicholson delivers such an insane performance.
Amazing.
Just a total madman, and I think his best performance. I don't know.
Yeah,
when I've seen him at a higher spot.
Anger management.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's great.
Good,
yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
And The Departed is also fantastic.
Also amazing.
But man,
different type of madman.
He goes just totally off of it. We have Shelley Duvall, who was just repeatedly picked on in this movie, where apparently Kubrick would talk down to her directly, just telling her that she's like garbage, that she's like wasting everyone's time.
She was a nameless actress.
And then and then he also told all the cast not to support her whatsoever. Like, if she asked for anything, if she was upset about something, that you're not supposed to give her any kind of sympathy whatsoever. So he wanted to like purposely create an isolated environment to pull out the best performance from her.
And I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to totally break a woman for the sake of your art, but I mean, he pulled it off, man. Like, it totally comes across in the character, because that is currently the reality she is living in. You know what I mean?
For real. And I just think it's also crazy, because imagine this coming out today. Oof. Imagine it wasn't Shelley Duvall, but it was like Jennifer Lawrence. And then you find out, oh, hey, this director, treated her like this on set and did all these terrible, cruel things.
Turned her into a shadow of a woman.
That movie would be boycotted in an instant. Like, it would never even be released.
Never know.
How interesting.
I don't know if Kubrick would have a career today.
Oh, I don't think so either. Or like starting out today.
Today, yeah.
If he was still alive, I think he could get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, Tarantino is also known for doing just ridiculously reckless things and treating his actors unfairly.
Footy guy.
But he gets away with it. Well, there's even that thing in Kill Bill where he made Uma Thurman drive that car in Kill Bill 2. She drove the car down some like really dangerous road, and even the stuntmen were like, that car's a death trap. Like, and he wanted her to film it because he wanted to get her all like battered and knocked up or whatever. And she like apparently injured her neck. She had some like neck damage that she still suffers from now because of Kill Bill 2, which is crazy.
I mean, one of the craziest things about movies is like the take where like you see somebody going through agonizing pain, or like the shock or the horror, like the really good laughs. It's like because that was their actual reaction to them being like physically injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And now for our third Star Wars reference of the episode. It turns out that this movie, filmed in 1980, was filmed at the same studio they shot Episode 5.
Amazing.
Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
So when you see the snow at the end of the movie, it was the same fake snow that they used for the Battle of Hoth at the beginning of Episode 5.
Wow, same batch, man.
Yeah, same snow. Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, this is just insane. So I want to get into the sequel thing a little bit. First off, crazy idea, like making a sequel to The Shining. But it's even crazier is that, well, not less crazy, I guess. Stephen King already wrote the book. You know what I mean? Dr. Sleep is a book.
It's old, too.
The part that really confuses me, and I feel like I told you guys this like a week ago, just unrelated, but in The Shining movie, the whole, spoiler alert, the whole hotel freezes over. And he freezes to death out there, Jack Nicholson. In the book, the hotel explodes. So I've never read Dr. Sleep. I would assume that in the Dr. Sleep book, it would continue off what happened in The Shining. But in the movie trailer for Dr. Sleep, Ewan McGregor, it shows him returning to like the frozen hotel. So it's like, is this a flashback? Is he really going back there? Does the hotel still exist?
That's the thing.
Did Stephen King change the sequel?
Maybe it's like Hotel California, man. It's eternal.
It's yeah, and maybe that's what Hotel California is really talking about. Except this one isn't in California.
That was about rehab, but
I think
what
it's
are
like
you gonna do?
There's a real place. I mean, I'm sure you guys knew that. There's a real place like the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, the Stanley.
I don't know where it's
the
at.
Stanley Hotel.
Oh, that's what it is. The Stanley Hotel.
Yeah, in Colorado.
Overlook is the name in the movie.
Yeah.
Colorado. Yeah.
It's in
there we go.
somewhere in Colorado, but it is a real place. And that's another thing. Part of the filming is it is an actual purported haunted place. The Stanley Hotel.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Which I think adds a lot to the creepiness.
Yeah, it's a creepy place.
I mean, to get into the movie, like the aesthetic part is great.
Incredible.
I mean, Stanley Kubrick's cinematography is just ridiculous. Like
I can still see the carpet in the Stanley Hotel when I think about it.
So many just purely memorable scenes. I mean, there's one big scare I want to get into, but I'll talk about that right now. So this is something I thought was interesting too. I heard that Dr. Sleep is about Danny Torrance as an adult killing vampires using The Shining.
It's some kind of Shining vampire thing.
Yeah.
They suck out. They kill people with The Shining, is what I think.
The Shining vampire hunter.
Yeah. And what's even weirder is in the book, like, Danny didn't have that adult friend. You know how he meets that man at the beginning who says, like, oh, you have the gift too. Let me know if you need any help. And that's how he ends up.
The black dude, right?
Yeah. In the book, it is Danny from the future.
What?
I am from the future self sending it back to him. And he's the one who tells him to write, like, red rum on the thing, to like give him hints and things like that. So
gonna be weird, man.
It's gonna be a weird movie. I'm excited to see what they do. But all I'm gonna say is, The Shining movie is the most well-regarded source material of Stephen King, and it's the one furthest away from Stephen King's source material.
And it's criterion for all film ever.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie, I would argue.
Dude, that soundtrack.
Yeah, and then you have like the famous blood scene, shooting out of the doors. There's so many great things.
The twins in the hallway. All of the hotel stuff that happened in the individual rooms was my favorite part. Like, this scared the crap out of me.
Well, specifically like room 237, right? The room we can't go in, which is funny because it's like the same kind of thing that goes on Haunting a Hill House, like the red door room. You can't go in that room. And this actually kind of segues into what I was wanting to talk about. Do you guys know about the Apollo 11 moon conspiracies surrounding The Shining?
Oh, that Kubrick actually filmed the moon landing?
That Kubrick filmed the moon landing using his technology from 2001: Space Odyssey. And I have a couple of these things here which I thought were really interesting. So there are several...
I just got to say Kubrick would have done a way better job.
Well, here's the thing, and here's the argument. These things I'm about to list off to you, they do sound like coincidences, but Stanley Kubrick doesn't just put elements in his movie for no purpose. And there's even things where, like, in A Clockwork Orange, in Alex's house where he lives with his parents, there's books on the shelves, and the titles of the book have to do with themes from the movie and like character traits. It's like tiny details are heavily considered. So you make your decision on your own, listener. You know what I'm saying? But there are several symbols of 11 throughout the film. Apollo 11 is the moon landing mission. The pattern of the hotel carpet Danny's playing on is the exact shape of the lunar launch pad. He's also wearing an Apollo 11 sweater. The pages of Jack's novel reads, "All work and no play make Jack a dull boy." All could be interpreted as A11, Apollo 11. And also, that scene is not in the book. It was written for the movie. So that specific thing was written in there. The large Native American wall tapestry, which Jack throws the ball against, resembles rockets. The Apollo 11 vehicle that landed on the moon was called the Eagle, and Jack's typewriter is an Adler, which is the German word for eagle. There are also several.
Wow, the Germans truly do have a word for everything.
They really do. Okay, so some of those are like really hokey, but here's the big one, which I think is crazy. The room 237, which he tells him not to go into. In the book, that room is 217. So for some reason, Stanley Kubrick decided to change it from 217 to 237. And guess what? The moon is 237 miles away from the Earth. The exact distance.
Muy interesante.
Yeah. So I've somehow turned this into a conspiracy theory podcast.
That's pretty interesting.
But I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff. Like what was his reasoning behind this? And of course, now the world will never know.
Yeah.
But you know, the conspiracy goes deep. There's people who say that like the government went out and contacted him and said, hey, you need to like film this thing for us. All we need is your set. And then Kubrick, being like a megalomaniac, was like, I'll film it. You won't be able to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, 2001 came out a year before the moon landing.
Yep.
Yeah.
1968.
And people have even made comparisons of background shots in 2001 compared to the scenes that we see from the moon landing footage, and there's like similarities and all this stuff. It's really it's the most bizarre. It's like the most out there. Well, maybe not the most out there. There's way more that are out there. But obviously, we all know the moon's a hologram. So that really settles it.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're one of those people who's just like, I mean, I'll wait it out. The government's already declassifying all this information about UFOs. You know what I mean? They're already like, okay, yeah, there's some weird stuff, and we haven't been telling anybody about it, but it's been happening. But this is one of the things that the U.S. would never admit to because we beat the Russians, y'all.
The Russians.
USA.
Well, you know, I feel like I don't have much. I don't need to talk about The Shining anymore. It's like talk to death. There's like books and documentaries. And...
I mean, just one little fun fact I wanted to touch on while you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how much fake blood they had on hand for that elevator scene?
Oh, I know that they filmed it 3 times.
They filmed it 3 times.
And I know that it took like 9 weeks to set up or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the resets took like forever, apparently. 3,000 gallons of fake blood.
God. Yeah. And apparently when they first like shot the blood out, Kubrick was like, it doesn't look like blood. This isn't going to work.
Clean it all up. Let's do it again.
All right, reset.
Kubrick.
We'll do it again in 6 weeks.
The master. We can learn so much. Well, everyone, let's just move right along. It's time for... Oh, that's spooky. And I have the article for us.
Spooky.
This article was written October 9th, 2019. That's today.
Today?
Similar, and I forgot to make this point. 13 Ghosts came out on October 26th, 2001. So we're quickly approaching the anniversary.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. Maybe it'll be out around that time.
And also, it came out like a little over a month after 9/11, which I think is like something to note.
And maybe also why it didn't do very well.
Yeah, and everybody wasn't in a great
That was a weird
mood.
time, man. Well, the article I have for you all is actually nothing paranormal, but I just think this is kind of creepy.
It's pretty normal.
News. Pretty normal. Well, not very normal. Chernobyl's control room is now open to tourists for 5 minutes.
Not
Tourists
worth it.
can now visit the control room of Chernobyl's reactor 4, the scene of the world's worst nuclear disaster. But the control room is still highly radioactive, and people are required to wear protective gear.
I mean,
inside.
even just like walking around the grounds far away from the site, like you can't spend too much time there.
Being miles away from it.
Well, you know why they're doing this, right?
For monies. Oh,
because people are... They're super interested in Chernobyl right now, that HBO show.
It's so hot right now. I mean, the show was fantastic. Chernobyl Diaries.
You need to watch that show.
Dope.
And the booking for Chernobyl has gone up 30% since that show came out.
Dude.
So people are actually just traveling there to see it. They saw the show. They want to come home with some melanoma.
I would never want to be anywhere near Chernobyl,
way.
dude.
They'd be lucky to walk away just with melanoma.
Dude.
Oh, yeah. So check this out. The control room, which was highly damaged from the explosion, was where the reactor was operated from and where many of the decisions the day the reactor exploded were made. It sits under the new containment arch, but outside of the original sarcophagus that contained the radiation of the reactor itself. The radiation in the room is 40,000 times higher than normal levels, according to Rupley. Anyone who wishes to visit the site must wear a protective suit, a helmet, and a mask, and limit their visit to 5 minutes.
And have their affairs in order.
Afterwards, visitors are required to undergo 2 radiology tests to measure the amount of radiation they were exposed to. So in a way,
all of it. You were exposed to all the radiation.
They're making like a science experiment out of these people. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so how well is this suit? That'd be funny if you show up.
What happens when you microwave a human body?
You show up with some friends, like the 3 of us show up, and we're like, hey, well, why are we all in different suits? Oh, no, no reason. We're just,
Mine's got a hole in it.
We're busy today. Oh, that one's fine. That's
I'm pretty sure this is burlap.
So I don't know. I just wanted to bounce this off you guys. I think this is absolutely insane.
That is the worst idea ever.
What kind of death wish do you have to try and do this?
It sounds like something that would happen in Europe. And It just seems like it's kind of natural selection. These people want to go do it. They're doing it. They're spending their money.
There are obviously dumb choices in life, and if people are dumb enough to make them, then that's America. That's freedom. Except we're in Russia.
Yeah. Well, your money is still well taken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's dumb. Man.
I've never heard of someone.
Don't let those people back into the country.
Oh right. No. Yeah.
Barred.
We don't need you messing up the DNA line.
No. Get out of here.
Well, that sounded like scary out of context.
I think a lot of people have said
it
that.
Sounded a little bit like eugenics, David.
Yeah, right. But in this case, it's okay. When people are exposing themselves willingly to radiation rooms.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a group of people cashing in on a craze harder than this.
I want to get first dibs to go to the Fukushima tour.
Whoa.
That would.
They
be
have
cool.
an underwater diving experience that's supposed to be like out of this world.
But what does that have to be like? Like, what?
I'm not gonna go.
I was gonna say, man. Okay, you really sold me there for a second. I was like, Danny, that sounds like a bad idea.
More recent.
I was like,
it's actually
holy
cooler than
Fukushima,
Chernobyl.
Danny.
It's cooler because when you come back, you are glowing.
Oh, there's just a certain radiance about you.
I can feel my organs crushing inside of me.
And now the third arm.
Well, you know what? Let's wrap this one up. I feel like we've been chatting movies for a while. Let's peep some predictions.
That's what's gonna happen when you start talking horror movies about us. We're gonna have an extra long episode.
That was kind of spooky.
Oh, thank you. You know,
It's spooky how stupid humankind is.
I mean, it's definitely a story of just like people being dumb. But I just think, imagine there was a suit they made where you had no chance of getting any kind of radiation, and you get to go there and be in that room. That's spooky.
Yeah,
Like,
That would be.
That's some creepy stuff.
It's like what's the biggest nuclear disaster besides Hiroshima and everything.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Like,
yeesh.
Yeesh indeed. Okay, well. Oh, and we kind of have a spooky edition of Peeps and Predicts, everyone. Here
Nice.
we are. We have two people, fictional or real, or in this case, two groups. Well, one group and one person. This is getting complicated. And we're going to pin them up against hypothetical scenarios, and then we're going to have them go against our grand champion who,
For some reason.
is Bill Nye the Science Guy?
no, it's
No, unfortunately, it is not Bill Nye the Science
I
Guy.
always
He was
forget.
defeated by Van Halen.
Oh,
The singer
Lee Roth.
David Lee Roth, our current standing champion.
Who was
forgot about that.
David Lee Roth against last week?
He was against
Wow, how quick things. Oh, the guy from Aerosmith.
Steven Tyler.
Tyler.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what it was.
All right, so we have here the Winchesters,
The family.
Yes.
and we're talking about the ghoul fighting brothers from Supernatural,
Oh, that's not the
Dean
still the family,
and Sam Winchester.
Oh,
so
I thought
the Winchester family, but not the one you're thinking of. Versus,
which is also funny because the Winchester family's got a whole bunch of spooky stuff.
a
about
lot
it.
of spooky
yeah,
stuff.
this is multiple layers. Versus Blade.
Oh, Blade.
Interesting.
And for the sake of argument, we're gonna go Wesley Snipes edition because this was written before the other
Obviously.
movie was even announced.
Makes sense.
Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down. He's a great actor. I'm gonna go ahead and just say, I feel like Blade has a lot of experience with many paranormal things and killing
Yeah,
them.
but he can't.
I
even
mean,
get through
but is he
3
even
movies.
gonna show up?
Yeah.
Well, he'll be really high when he
The
does.
Winchesters have been at it for I think this is season 11. I think they're on their
it's
last
like more
season.
than that, isn't it?
Is it 15?
Something like that.
Damn.
It's some crazy number. These guys have been at this show forever, and
I don't see why.
I watched a couple seasons of it, but I fell off. It's too CW for me.
It's like almost watchable, and then it's not.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
great way to describe it.
It's like
That's a great way to describe it. If we have any teenage girl listeners, they're very upset right now.
Like,
How
what?
dare you talk about Jensen Ackles?
Yeah.
Teenage girl listeners whose names happen to be Karen who are aspiring to be dentists.
also sex workers.
There are 327 episodes of Supernatural,
My God.
and they're starting season 15. It is the final season this year.
Why? Why is it?
coming to an
Damn,
end,
that
y'all.
show's having its quinceañera, dude.
I feel like you've been on the Hispanic references tonight, man. You've hit
Huh?
us with like 3 different ones. I love it.
What are you gonna do? You know,
You're so much more
I'm
cultural.
brown.
Put a microphone in front of you. All right, hit us with our first.
Also, when I'm drinking.
That'll
yeah.
do it. Hit us with the predict. What are we doing?
First predict. Who would come out on top in a dance-off?
Ooh.
Wesley Snipes is black. I'm just gonna say it.
But I would say them being brothers,
Dang.
they have like a really close relationship, and then a team dance number. Team dance. I don't know. What do you call like a dance?
number.
Yeah, a dance
Yeah,
number.
sure. A ditty.
In the time I watched Supernatural, there was no dance numbers, unfortunately.
Routine. That's the word I'm looking for.
I do know that if we're going by characters, one brother is like the edgy one who listens to like AC/DC and like
Ooh, does
70s
he have like spiky
rock.
gelled hair?
The long hair
No,
one.
he's got a leather jacket. He's a short one.
Oh wow, what a bad boy.
He's just a tough guy, and he drives like a muscle
guy with the car. Yeah.
And then his brother, the taller one, the one who was in Gilmore Girls, he's like the sensitive, thoughtful one.
Yeah.
I can't imagine either of them dancing, and given their, like, if you don't know what Supernatural the story is, when they're kids, their mother is killed by some kind of entity. It like sucks her up to the ceiling, sets her on fire, and it burns the whole house
It's
down.
pretty cool.
Oh my goodness.
The
Because
first
the-
episode is pretty cool.
The first season, I think,
Yeah.
is a nice little watch because every episode is kind of like Scooby-Doo. This is all coming
just
back around.
I've never
paranormal
watched any
things.
of it. This is
The
all news to
Wendigo
me.
episode.
The Wendigo
was
episode's nice,
really good.
and they
Ooh,
do
I just like a Wendigo like as a monster.
they
That's
do a
super cool.
Lady in White, like a La Llorona kind of thing.
Nice.
But like the the East Coast version of that.
Yeah.
There's
The-
good stuff.
The quick little tidbit right here. There's a movie on Netflix called The Black Coat's Daughter that is a Wendigo movie. That's
Oh, really?
Pretty tight.
Will
Oh,
check
Wendigo
out.
tales are dope. Also,
Spider-Man versus Wendigo. Shout out.
what?
Great little 4-issue
Really?
series. Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk about the thing for PS4. What's that game?
The Thing for PS2?
No. It's like the
You're
Telltale
talking about Rocket
game.
League.
No,
The Telltale game.
it's not a Telltale game. It's the people that did. It's like
the one
Dead After Dawn Until Dawn.
Until Dawn.
That's a Wendigo game.
That's a Wendigo game too.
It is awesome and it's spooky.
That's amazing.
That is
I
a
love
great
that
game, dude. You should play.
I need
that
to hop
game.
back on it. I actually started it and I never finished it. One of you lent it to me.
I feel like
Oh,
I need
it's
to go
so
through it.
good.
Well, it was free then, so now everyone's got it if you downloaded it.
It's good.
Oh, and then I'm pretty sure it was you because I gave it back to you because I downloaded
you were like,
it for
I
free.
downloaded it for free. Yeah, that was the conversation. It's good.
But yeah, some episodes of Supernatural are pretty tight.
Yeah. Like season 3, they get into this whole like angels thing. Like at first, it's just supernatural stuff happens. Like we're ghost hunters or whatever. And it's the two brothers are looking for their dad because their dad was a ghost hunter. That's why the mom was killed. And then he's off on his own or whatever. And he's Negan. The dad is Negan.
Oh, nice.
But then, yeah, they get into this whole. An angel sent down to protect us, and one of them dies and goes to hell, and they have to go to hell and bring him back. And then
that's a
they're
bummer.
like chosen ones, and there's demons and
Chosen
angels, and
one.
it's way they should have just stopped a long time ago.
I kind of want to find like an article of like the must-see Supernatural episodes,
that'd be
and then
interesting.
just like go in and.
I wouldn't mind checking out a
You know
few
what I
of them because you know what, they do have a nice little dynamic. The two of them together, you feel like they're brothers. They got that whole like, you know, the shorter one is the older brother who's given the taller one a bunch of crap and.
It's good.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. But anyway, I think Blade's got to have better moves because I don't see those two kids dancing. And they got a dead mom.
Blade's high as hell. Also,
Yeah. So fill in the groove. I would also argue that Blade is like very proficient in martial arts. Like he's got the
Yes.
he moves around in a certain way. You know what I mean? He could probably cut a rug real well.
if I'm not mistaken, isn't Blade also like? He's been around for a while, right? He's got like a long lifespan since
You're-
he's.
this is
No,
why we
I don't
need
think he's
Brandon
like an internal
occasionally.
vampire.
No,
I
'cause
think
he's
he's like
a
relatively.
he's
Yeah, because he's
half.
half-breed. He
He's a
still
daywalker.
ages.
He's a daywalker.
That's
He
right.
still ages, but he's got a little bit of vampire and also black don't crack.
Black don't crack.
Wow. Okay, well, this one's in the bag.
Yeah.
Danny, why don't you give us our other predict here?
Easily, let's.
So
get
we
it
can just
out of
hurry up
here.
and get Blade into our...
I mean, that's a pretty cool winner.
I can dig that.
Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
Oh, I meant to make a Warriors joke when I was talking about
Dude.
Cyrus.
This is good. I think this was yours.
Uh-oh.
Who could write a better GOT ending? Game of Thrones ending.
This was not
Anybody.
me. Okay, it's got to go to the Winchester brothers.
Yeah, they
because
would. yeah.
Blade couldn't even do that.
He couldn't even walk out
Wesley
of his
Snipes
trailer.
couldn't even get out of his trailer.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the character himself, he's not like really like he's not long-winded or anything.
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
got-
go on like
he's got
monologues.
minimal dialogue.
Like minimal dialogue.
They knew what to do with him.
and the Winchesters, if I'm not mistaken, the younger one was in college.
Yeah.
And he dropped out of college to go with his brother, so we know he at least has some modicum of intelligence.
Aren't those actors like the initial writers of the show too?
I don't know.
I think they are the
It could be.
creators
I mean,
too.
they've had to have been sticking around this long. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I obviously they have more story writing capabilities. So.
Simple. Let's tiebreaker it.
Get to that tie-breaking
Here we go.
predict, David.
We're getting here. We're getting here, everyone. 1-1, Winchester v. Blade. We have... Who's more likely to be approached for a selfie?
Oh.
The Winchester brothers,
not
right?
Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes has been out of film for so long.
And here's my argument, because I see Frank's face, and he's saying no. But check this out.
Well, no, I'm really just like thinking about it in my head.
It's like the Winchester brothers, their biggest fan group is girls from like 12 to 22.
And
Also
they're
the biggest fan group for selfies.
Also the biggest fan group for
and
selfies.
they're huge in Texas. They're like Texas homegrown
Well,
heroes.
everything's bigger in Texas.
Yes. True.
I mean, there's no argument with that one, I think. Like,
Dang. So we have Winchesters versus David Lee
Lee
Roth.
Roth.
All right, Frank, give
What
us this thing.
wacky world have we created for ourselves?
What have we done here? Winchesters v. David Lee Roth.
All right. The title fight will come down
Ding,
if
ding,
I can unfold this Post-it note. Nice. Why is David such a skank? I definitely submitted this one.
Oh, wow. How long has that been in
Dude, that's
there?
been in there for a while.
we talking
I'm going to
about
start
for,
dating
like,
these.
David
Years.
Pena or David Lee Roth?
100% David Pena.
But in this case,
Which
no,
David?
in
I
this
wrote
weird
this.
circumstance,
You're the skank.
but I mean, David Lee Roth is on board. I mean, how do we know for sure?
Also, probably a skank.
Yeah.
Probably.
These are points.
Does this mean David Lee Roth sticks around another week?
Wow, I
Oh,
like
please.
100% forgot that I put that in there.
some.
Woo! Let's see. I hope this is another BS Frank submission. To be 100% honest.
I like how that joke's just been cooking for like 2 years, and it finally came back around.
Who is the better dodgeball teammate? Who you picking for your team? Who's getting picked
Dude.
last?
David Lee Roth can jump. He's got hops.
I was about to make a might as well jump.
I will argue that David Lee Roth could jump. Probably can't jump very high anymore.
I'm
Probably
also
got a
going to
pretty short
argue
vertical.
that a jump might be the least effective skill in dodgeball.
True.
It's not
Unless
even
you're
in the
doing one of those
list.
Splits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I think it is in the list.
Duck, dip, dive.
Dodge.
Is diving the same as dodge as jumping?
Dodge,
I don't
duck,
think
dip,
so.
dive, and dodge. No, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
in there.
The Winchester brothers,
They've
they
got moves.
they can fight
Yeah.
at least. They have reflexes.
Yeah. They are doing action.
I mean, everybody
stuff.
has
I
reflexes.
think they might have angel powers or some
man.
nonsense. I don't
Angel
know.
Horde Summoners.
Angel Horde Summoner. Angel Horde Summoner wins every time. I don't know. I mean, I feel like David Lee Roth's got no real argument. He's old.
I mean, and it's a twofer. You get two teammates.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
more catching, more throwing. And if
Yeah.
one of them's out, there's still
One of
two
them's
of you.
tiny and short. The other one's real lanky and tall. You got
Either
different
way,
kind of
hard targets.
hard targets.
And they work together as a team because they're brothers.
I feel like we busted through these guys. I'm proud of ourselves. The
Very easy
Winchesters,
predicts.
they move on.
Yeah, for a weird pairing, there wasn't a whole lot of argument there.
Well, you know what? Similar to like the Batman thing, they're written where they get out of every situation.
300 episodes
Yeah,
of
327 episodes. They know how to get out of a situation.
And I think
So-
the lesson we learned here today is there's nothing better than plot armor to just keep you going forever and ever.
Yeah, for reals.
It's very profitable.
Speaking
That's
of
for
which,
sure.
listen to Palo City Comics. I was joking. For a weekly update on plot armor.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of this edition of We Did a Podcast. Hope you had a very spooky October. Hope you got
Yeah.
lots of treats, and I hope you had some tricks too.
I hope you got some rotisserie chickens when you were trick or treating.
That's a trick.